So we back with another video. Today we're gonna be ranking the NFL quarterbacks. Now, it's some guys I usually would rank, or I had ranked throughout the year, that would have been on here, but it's like, it's kind of pointless for some people. But we're gonna be ranking guys for this year based off the expectations they had and what they pretty much did this year. I did this similar thing for the teams. I'll probably do this for the coaches, and then we can get into like the off-season tier list. When we start talking about the free agency, we can start talking about the draft, and then we can just start talking about moving forward for how we will rank the teams going into next year, how we will rank the quarterbacks going into next year. This is just going to be kind of just a culmination of a ranking of the quarterbacks, grading the quarterbacks for the most part, how their season was this year, especially based off the expectations I personally had on them. But yeah, if y'all do want more of these, like the video, subscribe, all that good stuff out the way. Let's go ahead and hop into it. Alright, so way we doing this. Now, I tried to put it in tiers in terms of when we're ranking them. So we got the older guys first. We got the questionable young guys coming up next when you think about Dylan Gabriel, Spencer Rattler, Justin Fields. You could even throw Matt Jones in there. Then we kind of got like these guys coming into the year that was like question marks. Like, people looked at them as good, but me personally, I have my questions about these guys, because I feel like some of these guys in good situations could be good, in bad situations could be bad, and we gonna rank that. And then we have some of the rookies, where JJ McCarthy, he's not a rookie, but he didn't play last year, so I put him with those guys. Like, this is our first time really seeing them in live, real games, not preseason. And then we have the rookies from last year for the most part, except for one guy. Then we have the guys from a couple years ago, still kind of younger guys, still trying to, I guess, prove themselves, but they're like, I would say these are kind of like the franchise quarterback young guys, I would say. This next couple guys after Cam Ward. And then we got people that's kind of stamped themselves on their team, and guys that's all around in that top 15 range until we get all the way to the end. So that's what we gonna be doing. I'm gonna be having to go all around in this video. Stay tuned with me. Let's get into it. First off, Russell Wilson. Oh, and by the way, yeah, we're doing S, A, B, C, D, F. It's literally grades. We're giving out grades. It's not going to be a lot of S's. Getting A is not easy. Russell Wilson, coming into this year, I think that he had a lot going for him with the Steelers. A lot of people, I feel like his PR was really, like, not PR. I'm not going to be saying PR throughout this video. Reputation was kind of, like, we already knew he was kind of getting older, but I do feel like those last couple years with the Seahawks, he was one of the best quarterbacks in the league. It wasn't even debatable. He went to the Broncos. He didn't have a good time over there. Then he goes to the Giants. It was a bad start. Dart goes out there, and the team looks a lot better. And that's even without guys like Neighbors and Scatterbo for majority of the season. Now, I won't lie. Dart started to calm down towards the end of the year, even before Daboll got fired. But after Daboll got fired, it was kind of, yeah, it was just calmed down a lot. So, I don't know. But Russ, he just wasn't great. I don't think the expectations was too crazy. I will say he did have, like, his reputation was just higher last year. I would have probably said he was like a C-level quarterback. So, but, or coming into the year, I'll say D. Next, we got Joe Flacco. If this was like 2 years ago, I feel like Joe Flacco actually had a pretty solid reputation last year. Coming into this year, he didn't have much to talk about. This year, he starts the year with the Browns. Browns aren't that good of an offense. We already knew they have a bad O-line. They have not the great receiving core. Joe Flacco's, I don't really want to say he's getting the most out of it, but it's not like it's looking good. He goes to the Bengals, replaces Joe Burrow. It's looking better than when Joe Burrow was starting initially to start the year. Now, Joe Burrow is just a weird quarterback every year. If you know, you know. Like, he's one of my favorite quarterbacks, so I understand this. He does this every single season. He'll have a very rough start to the season, and then he'll get going. Like, last year, Joe Burrow had a ridiculous year. Go look at what he did in that first game against the Patriots. He was not good, and that was a bad Patriots team. So, yeah, I just think Joe Burrow, he just does this every year. So, Joe Flacco, I would honestly say, personally, if we just grading it, I would say you give him a solid weapons. And also, I think Joe Flacco has also kind of got rid of that stigma of the Bengals have no O-line. I was saying this at the time in the preseason when people was talking about he was taking some stupid hits. I was saying this when he was taking dumb hits in the regular season. It really wasn't the O-line situation. I feel like they've done a solid job where it's nowhere near one of the worst O-lines in the league, in my opinion. It's not one of the best, don't get me wrong, but a lot of people talk about the O-line like it's one of the worst. So, I don't know. It's a little weird, in my opinion. I would say Joe Flacco, I don't want to say B, but he probably, based off expectation, he probably was legitimately a B. Next, we have Aaron Rodgers. Honestly, Aaron Rodgers, to go to the Steelers, I honestly thought they had a pretty interesting situation. I didn't think they was going to be that great, but with Mike Tomlin, they just win 9 games. So that wasn't really a tough thing to predict because they just do that. He's not going to go anything under. And they didn't have the craziest team to me. So 9 games, bro. 9 games. And he was much better with the Steelers than he was with the Jets, in my opinion. And you think about all the guys the Jets had. You think of Breece Hall, low-key a solid O-line. You also had Devontae Adams. He got on the team. Garrett Wilson. And we talking about actual healthy Garrett Wilson. Yeah, it's just weird, bro. Now, I do think the OC situation over there was kind of the huge issue, and that was kind of Aaron Rodgers' fault. But he was actually pretty solid, in my opinion, with the Steelers in big games. So, yeah, in the playoffs, it happened. You know what I'm saying? I think, again, people kind of sleep on how good that Texans defense was. That Texas defense was genuinely an all-time defense. Shout out to the Seahawks. They deserve their love, but I still personally think that the Texans had the best defense in the league. That defense was ridiculous. Not gonna lie. So I wasn't blaming Aaron Rodgers for that too much because you think about DK wasn't good in that game. If DK's not gonna hoop at wide receiver, what do they have, in my opinion? But I think he was actually pretty solid. I would put him above Joe Flacco because it's easy. I'm gonna be real. And we're gonna talk about this later when it comes to situations, in my opinion. You can see it just with Joe Flacco. What he looked like in a bad situation, what he looked like in a much, much better situation. You got T. Higgins and Chase out there. It's going to look a lot better. You got, you know what I'm saying? You got Jerry Jeudy and friends. It's going to look a lot worse. Especially with a way worse O-line. Then we have Dylan Gabriel. Now, Dylan Gabriel is a weird one because, okay, we talked about it with Joe Flacco. Bad situation. But he was also just not good. I don't want to go all the way and say he's bad. Or he was bad, but damn near. I'm not even gonna lie. But the expectation of him wasn't high, but I'm gonna say D. I'm gonna say D. Next we have Spencer Rattler. Spencer Rattler, in my opinion, is a very interesting one because I think he was actually pretty good. He had traits that you really do like in the NFL, like in terms of arm talent, sack avoidance. And when you watch the Saints, the offense wasn't bad, in my opinion, early on in the year. Like all throughout the season, even before Suge starting. Should, however you say bro name, we're going to have to rank him, and I'm about to say his name, so hopefully I'm saying one of them right. But Rattler, a lot of them games was competitive. They were losing. The issue with Rattler compared to Suge, they were losing. When Suge became the starter, they started genuinely winning games to the point that he damn near trolled their draft pick. But it's not like it's a crazy draft, so that's not that big a deal. But I will say, the crazy thing with Suge and Rattler was playing a lot of his game with Shaheed. When Suge was playing, they didn't really have Shaheed for a lot of those games, and they still was looking that good. So, I don't know, but Rattler, in my opinion, he was actually not that bad. He was a lot better than I really expected, personally. So, I would actually say C. I think Rattler was better than I honestly expected. You could have even said B, and I wouldn't be too mad at it. But, honestly, I'm lowering these dudes. I'm low-key going crazy on that. And I probably got to put him in F. I probably got to put both of them in F. I ain't gonna lie. Then we have Fields. Another guy that came from the Steelers that honestly, his reputation was low key. I'm not going to say an all-time high, but them 3 games he had with the Steelers, he was getting gassed. Now, I won't lie. For me personally, his reputation wasn't that crazy because it was a drastic difference in terms of the passing game when Russ was out there and Justin Fields, when they was both on the same team. Now, Justin Fields goes to, honestly, I thought this was going to be a fun, exciting team. They were gonna be bad. Don't get me wrong, but I thought we would have some solid games. Honestly, it wasn't good, bro. I'm gonna just say D, bro. I'm really like doing too much there, bro. Like And even the thing with bro, I'm not even gonna go too crazy on Justin Fields. He already get a lot of hate. I ain't even gonna do it. Then we have Mac Jones. Now Mac Jones, as a former Patriot player, if you were paying attention last year, honestly, when he was with the Jaguars at the end of the year, he low-key outperformed Trevor Lawrence last year. Like, a lot of people talking about BTJ, this, that, and the third. BTJ took his jump, not when it was Trevor Lawrence playing last year. It was when Mac Jones was playing. Like, he was... Now, I won't say it's because it was Trevor Lawrence and because it wasn't Mac Jones. You could really probably say it's more so due to BTJ. Also was a different scheme and coach. BTJ early in the year that year was kind of more like a deep threat, and that's all he was utilized to be. As the season went on, they started moving him around, and he started getting a little bit more scheme touches. He started getting the ball on screens. He started getting the ball over the middle. He started getting the ball on those deep balls that make him really good. But he was able to showcase how well-rounded of a wide receiver he was on his routes. So I think that may be partially why Mac Jones may have been better, but Mac Jones was also just solid in my opinion. Now, move on to this year. Talking about Mac Jones. Mac Jones goes in for Brock Purdy. At the beginning of the year, Brock Purdy didn't have a great start to the season. People, like, the 49ers was low-key not bad, but Brock Purdy didn't have a crazy start to the season. Mac Jones goes in and actually plays really good for them. So, it's very interesting. And you got to think about it, when Mac Jones was playing compared to when Brock Purdy was playing. Now, when Brock Purdy was playing, they were starting to get injured. When Brock Purdy was playing, they were injured. Like, they were, like, injured. I'm talking about a lot was injured. Like, damn near everything was injured. So, it's kind of tough to even really disrespect Mac Jones. You could really say Mac Jones honestly deserve an A. You could even argue S for Mac Jones. I'm not gonna lie. Like, he got one of the craziest games. Like, just think about that game against the Rams. That game against the Rams is low-key. That was a big loss for the Rams in terms of, think about if the Rams would have played a home game instead of having to go away in that NFC Championship. They could be winning. They could have been winning the Super Bowl right now, you know? But a game like that they dropped was low-key a huge game, in my opinion. But Rams kind of dropped some other... They kind of, like, if you look at the Rams' losses, they kind of dropped some crazy games. You got the Panthers, the Falcons, and the 49ers when they pretty damn near their whole team was injured, gang. Literally, damn near their whole team was injured in that game, and they lost. That was crazy. But yeah, Mac Jones was good in that game. He wasn't nothing... Now, don't get me wrong. Was he throwing off his back foot? Was he... No, bruh. He was taking a lot of hits because, like I said, everybody was out. O-line had issues in that game. But they pretty much played with a whole backup wide receiver room. The only person that really was healthy was CMC. For real. And it was working, bro. He was playing within the offense. He was doing his job, and it was functional. It was functional. I do give majority of the credit to Shanahan, but you got to give credit to the quarterback for making that work. And it wasn't like that was a one-game thing. He did this for multiple games where he was making it work, bro. So you got to give Mac Jones some credit for that. Because coming into this year, I thought Jaguars, maybe not A. Maybe not A. I thought Jaguars, he looked good. But to do that again in a whole different scheme and system, I got to give him some credit. Next, we got Geno Smith. Now, Geno Smith, in my opinion, I never was that high on Geno Smith. Honestly, I had him and Sam Darnold as these two guys that was questionable. I did this for a little bit with Baker as well because they kind of was bust. And now you kind of got the resurgence. Sam Darnold, last year with the Vikings, was very, very good toward the end of the season. In the big games, he was bad, though. So that was big question marks for me. Every time I watch Geno Smith, it's not good. So I'm not even finna try to get that one off with him. He's just never been good whenever I watch. I don't know what it is. And I feel like the 3 worst games he had this season, I watched all 3 of them games. Like, that game against the Chargers might be one of the worst played games I've seen from a quarterback. Honestly. But I won't lie. That game against the Patriots to start the season. Now, there was no Gonzo. The Patriots, hey, go look at that Falcons game. Pre-Gonzo injury, post-Gonzo injury. That pass defense is nowhere near the same level, in my opinion. But he was really good in that game. Now, a lot of stuff that was happening in that game never happened again. So, I don't know. But it's kind of tough. I do think he probably did lose his job. I think they're definitely picking Fernando Mendoza. They picked up the offensive coordinator, Clint Kubiak, from the Seahawks. So honestly, I think that is going. This is another thing about maximizing your window. Clint Kubiak leaving. Seahawks don't win that, they could be looking kind of similar to like the Eagles. Remember when the Eagles lost in the Super Bowl? And then they lose their offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator. They make the playoffs, they lose in the wild card. They get their guys at OC and DC, they make it back to the Super Bowl, win. They lose their OC, they make it back to the playoffs, lose in the wild card. So you gotta maximize your window when you got everything right, and they definitely did that. They definitely did that this year, so you gotta give them credit. But Gino, I'm gonna be honest. I seen a tweet. Now I ain't even gonna act like I ain't see this, bro. He went from the Seahawks to the Raiders. I don't remember what the Raiders was. They were a bad team. They picked like 6th last year. They went from picking 6th without Gino to the #1 pick. The Seahawks, I don't remember if they made the playoffs or not. They went from that to winning the Super Bowl. I ain't gonna lie. That is kind of crazy. I ain't even gonna cap. I'm not even blaming Gino for that, but that is a funny tweet. But Gino, in my opinion, I think that, I don't know, it's not really highlights. I would say Gino makes throws that he just shouldn't make, but when it works, it looks good. And I think he kind of gets gassed for that. It's a couple guys like that we're going to get up here that's just better than Gino. But it's some guys that's just like super inconsistent. They'll make a couple throws and people will just key in on those 1 or 2 throws they made that game. They could genuinely have a bad game that game, but people will just glaze them for that game because of those throws. I feel like Gino, he's kind of a guy like that, will make multiple throws within the game that just make you go, wow, that's a crazy throw. But he'll take some crazy sacks. I don't know. Gino just do a lot of wild stuff, and he does it game in, game out. So, I don't know. I will say his situation this year was interesting, but I ain't gonna lie. Watching some of the games where Brock Bowers, I don't know. It's tough, man, with Gino. I'm gonna keep it being. It's tough to kind of gauge. Won't lie. Then we have Kyler Murray. I ain't gonna lie. Kyler Murray, like Geno Smith, I wasn't that big on Geno Smith. I wasn't that big on Kyler. But bro got his whole chain snatched this year, bro. I'm not gonna lie, Kyler. You are not. I feel like Kyler has one, like he has this thing every year where he's like the opposite of Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow will have like first couple games of the season where he'll start bad. Kyler will do the exact opposite. He'll have the first couple games of the season where he'll start good, and it's like damn near every game we get closer to the end of the season, it gets worse and worse and worse and worse. Bro, that's genuinely Kyler, bro. I'm not even gonna lie. To the point that this year he got his chain snatched by Jacoby Brissett, and Jacoby Brissett was actually making this offense look. I ain't gonna lie though. I will say in Kyler's defense, a lot of that was garbage time. They were getting demolished in a lot of those games, and a lot of that was garbage time. I won't even cap. But I'm gonna be honest. I don't know what the full issue with Kyler. Some people say he don't study. Kyler is talented. It's just inconsistent. But even then, like, it's just some things that if you watch it, it's not like when it comes to Geno, he has some bonehead mistakes. Kyler, I don't really fully get what it is. Cause I'm gonna be honest, when I was watching the Cardinals with Kyler, I'm like, bro, this team don't really have no weapons if it's not McBride. I'm gonna keep it a bean. Brissett was making some of them guys look legitimately good. Like Michael Wilson may be a real guy. Forget Brissett. He might for real be a guy. I don't know, but a lot of this was not looking good at all with Kyler. So I don't know, bro. Kyler is a really tough one. I would probably say D. I don't want to be too hard because watching him, you can see the talent for sure. But it's just like, I don't know. I really don't know what the issue is with Kyler personally. Like, it's so many different things. Like, I don't know, personally. Maybe he just don't see over the line. He's short. I feel like he's accurate. He makes solid decisions. It's just not consistent. Then we have Tua. Now, Tua, I will be real. Tua is the most inconsistent quarterback in the league, probably. Tua will make a play where he make a crazy read, crazy accurate, and it's just special. And I will say, I know what Tua's issue is. He's always been a one read guy. He's a one read guy. And Mike McDonald, bro, I'm gonna just call bro McDonald. That went to the Chargers, the new Chargers OC. That's what we gonna call bro. Cause I ain't finna keep doing this McDonald stuff where I keep getting confused. But Tua, I think he just built that offense and it was working for years. Now, last year they kind of started to implement Devon Achane. I feel like Tua started to regress as we kind of started using these other two as like decoys. But I won't lie, Tua, I think the hate was a little overrated. I don't think this was a great situation, but Tua wasn't good this year. I'm not even gonna lie to you about it. I don't think Tua was that good this year, personally. I think this is another situation where I think these franchises, these were guys that was looked at as franchise guys moving forward. I think Tua was a little bit more questionable than Kyler, you know, but I think they probably done with him at the starter. Maybe not, but I'm based off what I seen toward the end of this season, I'm pretty sure. Daniel Jones. Now, Daniel Jones, now you want to talk about Kyler Murray starting and then going slow? That was Daniel Jones this year. Now, I won't lie, Daniel Jones, I do feel like it was a little overhyped how good of a situation he was in. Now, I do think having arguably the best offensive line in football when he was playing early, like the first 8 games, and they was like undefeated or had 1 loss or whatever it was, that is a very good situation to be in as a quarterback. Jonathan Taylor, you know what I'm saying? But I don't think the wide receiver core is as good as wide receiver core is not that good. Tight end, you got Tyler Warren, but outside of that, it's okay in my opinion. I think the receiving options is not that great in my opinion. So I do think that was a little overrated. Like people was comparing that to like the Eagles. I think that was a little overrated in my opinion. There's no AJ Brown or Devontae Smith on that team in my opinion. That's just me. But I do like the trio they have. It's just a good trio. It's kind of remind me of the Packers trio, in my opinion. I don't think there is a real number 1 guy at all. But I thought Daniel Jones was actually good before he got hurt. He definitely started to slow down, even before the winning streak stopped. You know what I'm saying? He started to slow down, and JT was having to carry a lot of that in some of those games. But I think he actually did a lot for his reputation this year. And I think I'm interested to see if he come back or not next year and what he going to look like if he has another good year. That would be very interesting. We're starting to see a lot of these quarterbacks bounce back. I'm going to kind of talk about this in probably the next one. But the league is kind of going away from, I don't know if it's the contracts and these top-end quarterbacks, they just take up too much money. But it do seem like these teams are kind of going towards, especially if you look at the NFC compared to the AFC. If the AFC coming into the year had the 4 guys. And those 4 guys, 3 of those 4 guys didn't even make the playoffs this year. You know what I'm saying? A lot of those top teams in the NFC made the playoffs, except for really the Lions, which we will talk about. But it's kind of going towards really defensive with really good offensive coordinators, really good defensive coordinators, a solid quarterback that can make it work. But it's kind of going more so to having good coordinators. That quarterback is important, but if you have good coordinators and just a really good, solid roster, that's going to do a lot for you right now. Now, there's some teams that have an all-time quarterback, all-time coordinators, all-time, you know what I'm saying? The roster is just kind of getting depleted. And then you have some teams, it's just weird. But when it comes to Daniel Jones, it's a tough one to kind of rank. I'll probably say up there with Matt Jones, all things considered. I think he did kind of slow down toward the end, but Matt Jones did too. Then we have Sam Darnold. Now, Sam Darnold, hey, bro. Before that Rams game, Sam Darnold. Now, I'm not going to say top 3 because Dak was really good at that point too. But people that was genuinely watching these games, it was Drake May, Josh Allen, Stafford as the 3 consistent guys early in the year. But before that Rams game, that 4th guy, you could throw Dak in there, but it was low-key Sam Darnold. Though, like Sam Darnold, before that 4-pick Rams game, Sam Darnold was balling, bro. He was really, really good. Like, especially that, like, bro, I feel like his reputation was really crazy at that Buccaneers game. Like, it was really, really crazy, bro. Like, Baker was up there too, probably. Yeah, Baker was up there too. I'm not gonna lie. Baker was probably up there too. I'm trying to think what week that was, because Baker started slowing down a little bit. I'm trying to think what week that was. But yeah, Sam Darnold was really, like, he was in a lot of combos. Now, Rams game on, he started to struggle a lot more with turnovers. So, it was kind of tougher. And then you seen that Rams game where they damn near almost still won that game, despite him being really bad in that game. Like, that's when it was like, okay, I don't know, bro. I don't know. Well, this may be a little crazy to say you in that conversation. But I will say this, Sam Darnold, in my opinion, I had a lot of question marks about him going into the season. Kind of like what I said with Geno. I thought him and Geno being a swap, I'm like, I don't know what that really does. You know what I'm saying? You paying him more than Geno. He is younger, I believe. So maybe you got that. But coming into the year, I kind of looked at them as the same tier guy. You could say Sam Darnold's better, but I thought they was kind of the same tier. I won't lie though. Sam Darnold was in a much better situation. You could argue scheme. You could argue defensive margin for error. You could argue just off the fact that JSN alone clears anything that Geno was having to play with. But O-line as well. But I will say Sam Darnold, I think he had a very good season, in my opinion. I do. I think Sam Darnold is a clear A-tier quarterback. I think he deserves an A. I wouldn't say S. If he would have not even stayed at that level, if he just wouldn't have had as many turnovers towards the end of the season, he would have definitely been S. But I think the Seahawks was the first team in playoff history to not have a single turnover. They had some crazy record-breaking things. Like, they didn't have a single turnover ever. I think McDonald was the first head coach ever to be the play caller for the defense to win a Super Bowl or something like that too. Seahawks had a crazy they had a crazy playoff run. You got to give him credit. And I don't think he was that crazy in the Patriots game personally. Like, a lot of JSN fans was mad at him because I think Gonzo was just really, really ridiculous against JSN. But there was one play that if Sam Darnold throws a perfect ball, it literally had to be perfect, by the way. Like, I don't think it was a bad ball he threw him. It just wasn't a perfect ball, and Gonzo made a play on the ball. Like, I think that's probably the most he had Gonzo beat all game. He didn't place it perfectly. It was still a good ball in my opinion. It was on his chest. He needed to lead him a little bit though. If he would have put it out in front of him, maybe he gets a touchdown. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Maybe we talk about it differently. But honestly, I didn't think he was that crazy in that game, personally. I thought the best thing Sam Darnold did, I talked about this with Drake May. Now, also, I don't think the Patriots was able to put the same amount. Like, there was plays where Sam Darnold didn't even move and players ran by him. But there was plays when Sam Darnold, especially Milton Williams, who had been very good in the playoffs, Sam Darnold would just sidestep him. He would make good moves in the pocket and just avoid sacks. I think he definitely, you got to give him a lot of credit for that. That's one thing he for sure, that was a huge difference in the game, especially first half. Because first half, it was really bad. But, yeah, I would say, hey, if we talk about the whole season, especially that Rams game. That was the game they really needed him to go off offensively. He was very good. I don't think he really did anything in the 49ers game. He didn't have to do much in the Patriots game. In my opinion, the Seahawks was very safe. And I think you can see that with Sam Darnold. Now, second half, they got a lot more aggressive. First half, they were super safe. But, yeah, I think they just kind of wanted to close the door in the second half. So you got to give Sam Darnold a lot of credit for what he's done these last 2 years, in my opinion. Last year, he couldn't win those big games at the end of the year. He comes back this year. A lot of questions going into the playoffs was, could he win those big games? I think 49ers took a real big chip off his shoulder because he didn't have to do much. That game was over before he even took a snap. Genuinely, that game was over before he even got on the field. And then the next game, he playing a big game. He plays spectacularly, in my opinion. Now we have Tyler Show. Honestly, I was high on him. Honestly said, coming into the year, I thought he was the third best quarterback in the draft. It was him or Shedeur. I thought both of them was either late, first round, second round guys, personally. I thought if you wanted to take Shedeur, it would really only be because of the injury history with Show and the age. That was the only thing that was really keeping me from even going above Dart. Like, he was so old in injury issues. I actually liked him a lot coming into the draft, personally. But, honestly, I do think he kind of getting overglazed. If I'm being real, I do think he's kind of getting overglazed. But I will say it is very important to a team where, like I said, Rattler wasn't playing bad football, bro. They just weren't winning. Show goes out there, they start winning. Now, I will say there's a lot of things that could go into that. I don't know what it was, personally, fully. I think he was playing good football. Like, honestly, but also I think there was more to it than just him. So I will say that. But I'm going to say, personally, I want to say a B, because I do think he had a lot of haters. Like, I think he had a play at the combine or something that people just kept showing on replay. Like, and I'm like, bro, like, this is OD. Like, is there any other mistakes he made in the combine? Like, it was OD in my opinion. Like, I feel like when people don't like somebody, they just go all the way in on them. So I was really happy to see that for him. I am a contrarian in some aspects, but I thought he was a B. He didn't do nothing crazy in my opinion, but I do think he shocked a couple people with how he played towards the end of the year. JJ McCarthy, yeah, easily F. And the thing is with JJ McCarthy that's really shocking for me, the fact that the Vikings won 9 games this year. Like, it was at a point where they were literally just letting Carson Wentz get destroyed out there because it really honestly felt like they were scared to put JJ McCarthy out there. Now, he honestly had some big wins. Like, that Bears game to start the season, that was a really big win. He was very bad in that game for the first 3 quarters, fourth quarter. I don't know what the hell happened. You got I don't think he beat the Ravens. I don't think he was that bad in that game either, but the Lions game, that was a big win for them. But for them to get 9 wins, man, you got to give credit to that coach in defense. Because JJ at the beginning of the year was a great leader. He started getting a little frustrated as the season went on. But I think JJ actually had not McCarthy, I'm talking about Jefferson. He actually had a pretty good leadership season. That's kind of what you want to see out your wide receiver one, personally. But even then, I don't think all of that was just on McCarthy. I think Jefferson didn't have a great season for his standards either, personally, like if you was watching the games. But I will say when Wentz was out there, it didn't even matter. He was just a lot better. So I don't know. But McCarthy, in my opinion, he just wasn't good. It was a lot of issues when it comes to reading the field, accuracy, knowing when to run, when to not take a sack. He was just all over the place in terms of all those things. Decision making. It's just what it was. Like, it is not even like a small sample size. He pretty much did that. Like, every game that he played, he did that for majority of the games. I feel like it was more bad than good, even in the games that he played good in my opinion. But yeah, I'll say F. Shedeur, I think Shedeur, honestly, he's okay. Shedeur's a tough one because I want to say he's overhated, but he's also overrated, if that makes sense. Like, he is like, I don't know if he's overrated, but he kind of can be overhated. I don't think he had a good season at all, by no standard. I do think he had a good game. That Titans game, he was actually good in. But there were some games where he just was like a problem. So I don't know. Shedeur, if I was a Browns fan, especially with this draft class, it's really only one quarterback. All the other quarterbacks that was even going to be worth a shot to take, you know what I'm saying? They going back to college. So we'll see. Give him another year. Tank another year, you know what I'm saying? Try to get the number 1 pick next year in a really, really good 27 draft. 28, in my opinion, is a quarterback draft. But even with all the quarterbacks that didn't go this year, that's going to have to be next year draft. And all the quarterbacks that already was going to be a next year draft. Next year going to be just a really good balanced draft, in my opinion. So, it don't really hurt nobody. In my opinion, I think Shedeur is like a D, personally. Okay. Some of these is kind of crazy. I'm going to rank it based off how bad the quarterback was in the tier. I would probably say Tua, Kyler, boom. And then I'd probably say Shedeur here. I'll put him deep. Then we got Jackson Dart. I talked about this in the other tier list when it comes to, I think Mahomes has like a family tree. And I think Jackson Dart and Caleb Williams are like perfect examples. Like, and what I'm saying is, like, he has these, like, you can tell a player. Okay, let me understand what I'm trying to say before I say it. When it comes to this family tree, I'm talking about, you got the arm talent guys and you got the sack of winners guys. But you also got guys that have the arm talent and the sack of winners, but they're just extremely inconsistent with their accuracy. Maybe you got sack of winners guys that are accurate but don't have the arm talent. I would say Jackson Dart is on that side of the lacking arm talent, the crazy Mahomes, by the way, crazy Mahomes level arm talent, but sack avoidance, accuracy, he's on that side of the family tree. Then you got the Caleb Williams, where the accuracy, the consistency, but maybe I ain't gonna lie, by the way, both of them are clutch. Dart and Caleb are both clutch, low-key. I ain't even gonna lie. But, you know what I'm saying, the arm talent is there, the sack avoidance is there, but it's just other things that he's just missing to his game from him being, you know what I'm saying, the main branch. You know what I'm saying? He not, like, you know, they got side branches of the Mahomes tree. Those are the side branches, but if you want to be main branch, you got to be a little bit more consistent, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? But I actually think Dart toward the end kind of calmed down, but I think, personally, Dart kind of showed me this O-line ain't as bad, but also I do think Dart is a good example of a guy can make an O-line look a lot better than it is. Just like there's some guys that can make O-lines look worse than it is. But I do think in games when he played against teams that actually had schemes, he kind of did struggle, because I think his best trait is easily sack avoidance. He's very good at that. He's very tough to get down. And he has a very good ability to find the pocket to get out of the pocket. Or to find the gap to get out the pocket. He knows which lane to take and when to go. That's a very tough trait. Caleb has that. Mahomes has that. And the thing with Mahomes, which is why I use those two, I ain't gonna lie, Caleb is a tough one, because Caleb, he low-key fast as hell. I don't know if that's a real fair one. Dart and Mahomes ain't that fast for real. Caleb genuinely fast as hell. I'm not gonna lie. But Dart, I'm gonna be real. I think Dart still, me personally, I probably would say Shug's here. I still think Dart is the best quarterback in terms of that class. I think he did the best this year, personally. I do think his O-line situation was better than Cam Ward, but I think that if you put everything together, Shug probably had the best situation, because he had an offensive guru coach, good O-line. Like, the Saints O-line was actually good, and a real number one wide receiver in Olave. Dart didn't play a game with Neighbors. When he played with Scatterbo, he looked a lot better and more consistent. When he didn't, it still was actually solid. It just wasn't the same, in my opinion. So, he had some good games still, but it just wasn't the same consistency level, in my opinion. But the thing that I give Dart a lot of credit for is when he wasn't out there, that team didn't look the same. Now, when Jameis Winston played, I won't lie, Jameis Winston, it actually looked good, which is another indictment on Russ, in my opinion. Because Russ just did not look good, even when it was Neighbors. He had the game against the Cowboys, but at that time, if you wanted to have a game to hoop on, it was the Cowboys. That was a confidence-building team, in my opinion. Next, we have Cam Ward. Cam Ward is a tough one, because Cam Ward, toward the end of the season, I feel like a lot of these rookies, and I think it is fair to say this with rookies, because you got to think about it. When you're a rookie, you're building on experience. That's why I kind of, when Drake May got drafted to the Patriots, I just wanted him to sit. Think about Mahomes. First year, he sat. Jordan Love, he sat a couple years. I do think sitting and developing is better than being thrown out there to die. Like, I think a guy like Sam Darnold would have been a much better player with the Jets if he would have sat for a little bit. But I ain't gonna lie, the Jets is just, I don't know. That's enough, because the Jets is the Jets. I don't know. But Cam Ward, toward the end of the year, I don't think they have really any weapons for real. They don't have much of a running game. O-line is not good. This was, in my opinion, the worst situation in football. I know some Giants fans would say them. I know some Chargers fans would say they have a really bad situation. I think that this is the worst situation in football as a quarterback right before the offseason. Now, I like what the changes they've made with the Robert Saleh and Brian Daboll OC. I do like that combination, personally. So, we'll see what that looks like going into next year. But I'm going to say, for me, based off what he had to deal with, I would say B. I'm not going to go too high on it, me personally. But I do think I give him a B for his rookie season. I give him a B. Next, we have JD. Now, JD, he was in top 5 conversations before the season. I got to be real. I was one of them people that had him 5. I think he was deservingly so. Now, the difference between JD and all of his predecessors, he kind of has a flawless playoff record, which does matter. But in the regular season in his rookie year, he was just the best. He was by far the best rookie. He was already the best rookie by far last year. He just was. And then this year, I think that the Commanders just was cooked. He was injured. When he played, everything else was injured as well. Like, it was just a really bad situation this year. The Commanders just was a really rough situation. So, honestly, with the context, probably a C. If I'm being genuinely honest, it's probably, if it was without the context, it's probably a D or a F. With the context, I'd probably say a C, personally. Michael Penix. Michael Penix is a very interesting one, because when it comes to Michael Penix, in my opinion, it don't matter what caliber defense you have. It's pretty simple. If you blitz, it's GG's. Genuine. It don't matter what team you playing against. It don't matter how good the defense is. You blitz, GG's to the play. Simple as that. This was a thing in college. I do think some people do have PTSD. We're going to talk about that a little bit more later. I think that he's a guy that just struggles with pressure in general. Now, a lot of people struggle in pressure, but it's some guys that just freak out every time there's pressure. Like, when you're freaking out every time there's pressure and you're just killing a play, that's really, really bad trait. It's a really, really bad trait. And, like, you've seen that in the championship game when he played Michigan. You've seen that a little bit as a rookie, but when he had to start, like, majority of the games this year, you've seen that a lot. Now, I don't think he's bad. I think he has arm talent. I think he's just Geno Smith. He reminds me of Geno Smith personally. That's me. He reminds me of Geno Smith. Like, he makes some throws that just are nice, are really nice throws, but it's not really consistent, and he has a clear flaw, in my opinion. So, I honestly don't think he had that bad of a season. If I'm being real with you, I don't think he was that bad, but I would say C. I would say C. I don't think he was Geno bad. I think he is a guy that's, I don't even know if he's growing, to be honest, because I don't think he did much. Like, if I was a Falcons fan, I wouldn't be like, this is our guy for the future, stamped, you know? I'd be like, it's question marks here. Like, they're not in a situation to be picking because they also don't have a #1 pick. But, I don't know. I wouldn't be, you know? Then we have Bo Nix. Now, Bo Nix is a guy I definitely felt bad for in the playoffs because I will be real. Now, we're going to be doing a lot of context in this video. A lot of people kind of glazed in that performance against the Bills. I thought he was okay. I ain't gonna lie. In the playoffs when he played the Bills is a defense that I've said for time. I thought going into this year they had more talent than they've had previous. But since that little offseason, I think it was going into last year, they cut a lot of their best guys, whether you want to talk about offense or defense. And then last year, they just weren't the most talented team in general, offense or defense. This year, in the offseason, they actually tried to shore up that in the draft and in the free agency. And I think they did a solid job of that. But I do think in this entire McDermott, Josh Allen era, Josh Allen kind of just gets the most out of this offense offensively, and McDermott gets the most out of the defense. I think Josh Allen, usually when they lose, it be to the Chiefs, and the defense give up a lot of points. A lot of people just don't really like Josh Allen, so they had this conversation about turnovers, but this was actually a real game where the turnovers of Josh Allen came back to bite them. Go back and rewatch this game. The Broncos weren't really doing anything if it wasn't off turnovers in this game. Even in overtime, it literally took a Josh Allen turnover for them to go down the field and win the game. And even then, it wasn't even like they was actually moving the ball. It was, it wasn't 3 penalties. It low-key was 3 penalties because one play, it was a questionable PI, but it was a clear roughing the passer, so it didn't even matter. And then the next play is a clear PI, but I don't know if you call that with the game on the line. I'm going to be real. That's just me. The game literally came down to 3 flags at the end of the day. But I won't say, I'm not going to act like all those turnovers was on Josh Allen. We'll talk about that more later. But Bo Nix in that game, I don't think he was as good as people was acting like. I do think the thing that makes me feel bad for him is the fact that he got injured on a play that was so, like, not even important. It was a bad play call. It did nothing. It didn't really amount to anything for real. So, for that to be how your season end after beating Josh Allen in the playoffs, because you got to think about it again. He's played 2 games in his playoff career. Last year against Josh Allen, this year against Josh Allen. Last year they got destroyed. This year they won. So, you got to give him credit. He scored 33 points. And give him credit for that, but I don't think it was no crazy playoff performance, in my opinion. Like, I think it was, I don't want to go all the way on good, because he honestly had some, he had some head-scratching plays in that game as well. But for the most part, that's the thing with Bo Nix. That's like a kind of a perfect example. Throughout the regular season, he just was very inconsistent. Like, if you saw deep throws, he wasn't consistent. When you look at the Broncos team, and really Sean Payton, even with Drew Brees, they really kind of they like the dink and dunk yak game. That's the game they like to do. Bo Nix likes to try to throw that deep ball, and I think Sean Payton wants him to do that, but he's just not very consistent at making those plays. Now, I won't lie. The thing that was actually impressive in the playoffs to me was that they were dealing with injuries, in my opinion. I think that was a big deal. So I do give him credit for that. So it's a give and take. And I will say, just like he really wasn't doing much outside of the turnovers, but you got to, when you do get those turnovers, you do have to take advantage of them. So you got to give him credit for that as well. But I do think if he did play against the Patriots, that would be a different game for sure. Because Stidham, I think in that first drive, or not the first drive, the drive where they got the touchdown, I thought Stidham was good first quarter, I don't think Stidham was that bad, personally. At all. I think once he had that fumble, everything after the fumble, Stidham was literally the reason they lost. He literally did nothing. I ain't gonna lie. Like, a lot of them Patriots games, they were really winning because, like, a lot of people want to say quarterback winning in the playoffs is not a quarterback stat, and they use the Patriots. But I'm gonna be real, bro. Go look at that Texans game. You mean to tell me the Texans ain't lose because of their quarterback? You mean to tell me the Chargers are a little tougher one? The Chargers is a little tougher one, but Herbert was not good in that game at all, which we will talk about. He was actually pretty bad. Instead, it was pretty bad. Like, I really do think, like, the Broncos and the Texans literally lost their games because of their quarterback. And it wasn't like a situation of, like, the O-line was playing bad, the weapons not getting... It was just, they were just straight up playing bad, in my opinion. Now, I do think there was some play... In the first half, like I said, again, there were some things that Stidham was doing that was really good. And like I said, fumble on, he was just bad. There's no way around it. So, in my opinion, I think Bo Nix... Because I think Bo Nix had a couple big games this year. It wasn't just that Bills game. I think that Packers game, he was pretty good. It was a couple games. That Cowboys game is really good. But again, Cowboys, Texas. It's only so much I can give you credit for. So, it's tough. He's a tougher one to grade. I didn't think, again, coming into the draft, his comp for me was Dak Prescott. I don't think that's an accurate comp no more, personally. I don't think that's that accurate of a comp. He don't play like Dak to me. I don't know who he plays like, personally. I couldn't give you a good comp, but I do think he's a good quarterback. I'm not one of these guys, like, if we was ranking it based off the quarterbacks, it's tougher. I don't think he had a Sam Darnold tier season, me personally. I don't think he deserved an A. I didn't have, like, low expectations. He was about what I expected this year, if I'm being real. Like, this was a defensive slanted team, and the offense was able to score points. Like, Sean Payton is a very good offensive mind. Bo Nix is a good quarterback. That's just how I looked at it. I would say B for the season, but if we ranking the quarterbacks, I would say he's in that. Yeah. Caleb Williams. Now, Caleb Williams, in my opinion, I said throughout the season, I don't think Caleb Williams that much better, except for the sack avoidance. I thought that he improved for sure on that. But in my opinion, even the sack avoidance, I think they just improved the O-line drastically. The O-line was just drastically improved. I think the coaching was drastically improved. And I think that, and this is not just a Caleb thing, I think that the Bears probably had the best coaching on both sides of the ball. If you want to talk about scheme and play calling, the combination of offense and defense, you could argue. I think the Seahawks was up there. I think the 49ers was up there. I thought those were teams. Now, you could say the Rams for offense. I don't know about both sides. It's just a little tough when you think about both sides in that aspect. But I thought that the Bears was definitely up there. I thought the thing that let the Bears down a lot of times was the execution. The execution from both the defense and the offensive players. It's not just a Caleb issue. Now, on Caleb's part, I kind of mentioned this. I do think he's one of these Mahomes babies, or he's part of that Mahomes tree, where I don't know if he's the main branch, because his accuracy and inconsistency and just in general, he's just a very inconsistent quarterback, and he showed this in these playoffs. I ain't gonna lie, he is like if you only watch highlights, it's not 5 better quarterbacks in the league at all. And by the way, Caleb I'm trying to think about it. Caleb probably had the 2 best throws all season. Especially if you want to talk about the moment with it. Yeah. Like 4th down, game on the line in the Packers. Like, you don't get that. The game damn near, you could damn near say the game is over. They lose that game. He gets it. The rest is history in that Packers game. Again, Rams. That was an even bigger one because the game literally is over. He don't get that. He gets that. Now, I won't lie. The Rams one the Rams one, I'm not saying this for Caleb. I'm saying this for the Rams. What the hell are you doing, DB? Now, some people say he pushed off the tight end, but I'm going to keep being, even if you get pushed off, how, bro? He's not even in the vicinity. Bro, he is wide open. So, it's like, I don't know, but for Caleb to have to run that far back to just give his guys time, and then after he runs back that far, throw with no platform whatsoever, to make that throw is ridiculous. That is ridiculous. But I still think the Packers throw is crazier. That Packers throw, that throw literally makes no sense. And there's no logic to that throw at all. So, Caleb, he just has a lot of plays where it's like, yeah, arm talent is ridiculous. Arm talent is ridiculous. I don't honestly, and the crazy thing about Caleb that really makes no sense to me is Caleb has crazy arm talent, but I don't know if he has like Josh Allen's arm strength, if that makes sense. Like, I think that Mahomes and Caleb have more arm talent than Josh Allen, but Josh Allen has like a bigger arm. Like, the way that they can throw off certain platforms and it'd be like damn near the best ball. Like, I genuinely feel like Caleb throws damn near more consistently out of structure, off platform, no platform, than when he's damn near sitting in a clean pocket. As you can see in that Rams game. Bro, go watch that first half. Go watch the overtime even. Bro, even on the play that people was trying to blame DJ Moore for. Regardless of what you think about DJ Moore, one, it's a bad read, it's a bad decision, and the accuracy is also off. If you're going to make that bad read, you also going to make that bad of a decision, you got to put it in a place where it made sense for DJ Moore. It didn't even make sense on the DJ Moore aspect. Now, you could say, I don't see DJ Moore quitting on the play like people acting. Now, could you say DJ Moore could have cut the route off? Then he would be veering off his route to make up for his quarterback throwing a bad ball. Like, I hope that's understood. So, maybe you could say that. But I personally, in the Packers game, first half, Caleb was not good. I don't think and I'm not saying because of the turnovers. I just think that there were just plays where Caleb it's just weird, bro, because literally, I said this last year. Tell Caleb it's fourth down. Tell Caleb it's the fourth quarter. At the first quarter, we may be talking about something crazy. But the thing with Caleb is, I don't know, bro. Genuinely. So, when it comes to Caleb, I had him around Bo Nix. He's definitely better than Bo Nix to me. I don't even think that's really much of a debate. A lot of Bears fans want to have a conversation with the Drake Mays. I'm going to keep it being. Me, personally. Now, I'm probably going to have bias for Drake May because even before Drake May was even on the Patriots, I had him as the number one prospect. Personally. Now, I personally don't think what Caleb did this year was even puts him over JD for me. I think JD just had a bad situation. He was injured this year. Now, you could say the availability thing. If you want to say, I'd rather my quarterback be available, I'm not even going to argue with that. I probably would agree with that. I still probably say if I'm moving forward, I probably would take JD. I just think Caleb, situation-wise, wide receivers, tight ends, O-line, run game, OC. Caleb had genuinely a top 5 situation in football this year. And I don't even think that was much of a debate, honestly, bro. Like, I'm going to keep it being, bro. Them to be able to lead the first 2 rounds with Colston Loveland and Luther Burden, you got to, and the crazy part is about it, I be trying to gaslight the Bears fans because my homie a Bears fan. So it'd be trolled back and forth. So I was like, bro, I ain't gonna lie, bro. Y'all gonna fire Ryan Poles, and he was even advocating for it. I don't even know how you could even do that, bro. Think about the Caleb Williams, DJ Moore trade. Think about all the moves they made last year. Like, he's clearly a good GM. He makes some bad decisions. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes, but for the most part, he's clearly a good GM. So I don't think you move on for him. So, hey, I think Caleb did a lot. I think Bears fans definitely ride. Hey, Bears fans, all like gimmicks aside, is Caleb already the best quarterback y'all ever had? I think it genuinely is a conversation. I think this season you could argue is the best quarterback season for a Bears quarterback. Won't lie. Now, I won't lie and say that Caleb was good in the playoffs. He wasn't. I'm not even gonna lie to you. He was not good in the playoffs. Hey, that game against the Rams, he had 10 points in that game. He had a play at the end of the fourth quarter where he made a crazy play. He had 10 points against that Rams defense. I'm here to tell you that Rams defense was not good this year. I had high expectations for the Rams defense. Even the one aspect of the Rams defense that's supposed to be crazy, they were okay. I thought the Rams D-line was supposed to be the clear elite. That was not elite. It was a good D-line. Everything beyond that was not good. Cam Kitchens is the other guy I would give credit to. Outside of that, bad. They need DBs bad. That's one of the worst DB room in the league. Packers, you could argue is the worst DB room in the league. And then you also put in the fact they had no Michael Parsons. 2 of those games, and he was bad against really for a majority of their games. Both games. Now, second half, I give Caleb credit. But the thing is with Caleb that I really liked about Caleb this year is he wasn't turning over the ball, and he wasn't taking sacks. Regardless of the inconsistencies of the accuracy, decision making, and all that type of stuff, you got to give him credit for not turning over the ball and not taking sacks. He's not really, you know what I'm saying? He's not doing that. We got to the playoffs, he started doing that. And it's not like he has like the situation excuse. He's not like he has the top end defense excuse. He doesn't have those things. He weren't playing good pass defenses, and he also was in one of the best situations in the league. So it's tough. But I'm going to still say, even with all that, I'm not even a Caleb guy. I would still say A. Personally, I would still say A, because in my opinion, the whole goal of the Bears season this year, from my vantage view, my point of view, was to make Caleb work. To show that Caleb is the franchise guy. And I think Caleb did that. So I give them an A. I give him an A, personally. Next we have Bryce Young. Now my expectation for Bryce Young, I do think he played below that, personally. So I'm not going to go too far on it. But I think Bryce Young is a B. Now, if I was to rank him in B, it's tough. Keeping it honest. I do think that is tough. Because I do think Bryce Young had some big games this year. You got Falcons. I don't even know if to say that don't count or not, because at a certain point, he just really good against them. That Rams game, he was good, but he also had some really bad games. So it's tough. Playoff game, he actually was pretty solid in that. The thing I would say about the Panthers with Bryce that makes it kind of hard to gauge, I don't think their O-line is crazy as people act like sometimes, but it's definitely good, especially run game. They have a really good run blocking O-line. That's not even debatable. Pass game is a little bit more debates, but I also do think he kind of do struggle seeing over the O-line. But I think that one thing I would say for Canales, utilize Tet more, and the receiving options outside of Tet are not good, in my opinion. I don't think they're good. Now, Coker, I think, is a real guy that you can have on the team. I think he's more of a wide receiver 3 than a 2, but he was very good in that playoff game. But I do think if you get another guy, man, I would probably even say a tight end, because I think Bryce just loves throwing to the tight end as well, by the way. So I think if you get like a guy from Oregon in the draft, that could do a lot for you, in my opinion. So I'm gonna say for now, I'm gonna say Bryce is like here, because I do think Daniel Jones was better this year, but I think Bryce was a B. Then you have CJ Stroud. Now, CJ Stroud, I do think that one game against the Patriots literally ruined his reputation. I don't think CJ Stroud had a bad year this year. I think CJ Stroud was worse last year than he was this year. Personally, I won't lie. But he did literally lose his team the game. And I won't lie and say he had a great situation. I think all season, his O-line was bad. I don't think his O-line was... See, the thing is with the Texans in that game, when the Patriots sent 4... it wasn't no pressure for real, in my opinion. Consistency. Now, was there plays where they got pressure with 4? Yeah, but it wasn't consistent at all. They had to send pressure to get it. Now, when that's happening, I don't know who. Now, the thing is, I don't know who is on to ID that. Is that the center? Is that the quarterback? With the Patriots, it's the quarterback. Some teams, like the Eagles, apparently it's the center. So I don't know. I don't know what's the situation with the Texans, but it was a lot of times where it was a clear blitz coming. He ain't even changing nothing at the line. He's sending out both tight ends and the running back. And they getting free rushes. And the thing with Stroud, now I would say about both of these playoff games, because a lot of people will only say really the Patriots game. He was not good in that Steelers game either. At all. The defense really did everything in that Steelers game too. I would argue in that Patriots game, the defense was just had an off game. Somewhat outside the D-line, which we will get into. But CJ Stroud, in my personal opinion, when it's a bad play, he will have plays like that where he'll make a bad play worse and worse. And it's not like, okay, it's nothing we can do about this, I'm a fumble. Okay, it's nothing we can do about this, I'm gonna throw a pick. It's okay. I got a player in my face. I'm going to throw this at the dumbest angle. I'm going to also throw it to the dumbest wide receiver possible. And it's damn near going to be like a pick 6 or a fumble 6. And I don't know what be going on with bro in them situations, but he be having some crazy plays. Like he had a fumble against the Steelers where he had a way to avoid the sack. Not only did he make sure it was a sack. Then he started to freak out when he realizes it's a sack. He says, "Oh, I'm finna get sacked." He fumbles. Hey, bro, I don't know which play was worse, the pick six against the Patriots or that fumble. That fumble was crazy, though. That fumble was genuinely crazy. That pick six was hilarious. I ain't gonna lie. That pick six was genuinely hilarious. I can't lie. Now, I'm gonna be honest. Some of those picks, I do think the weather had a little bit to do with it in that Patriots game. I won't lie. So, he was not trying to make excuse for it. Because, again, Nico Collins don't play. Your O-line already been bad all year. I will say that. But he also just was not good in them 2 games. Like, okay. You can be okay. Your situation just made it look worse. But if you can also be terrible in a terrible situation, if that makes sense. Which we will talk about a lot as we get deeper into it. But in my opinion, I don't think Stroud had that bad of a year, bro. I think started the year, the first 3 games, he was rocky. Then he got to like, I don't know who they played, the Titans or the Ravens. He started to hit a stride. He gets injured. That stretch from that game to when he got injured, I thought he was really good. Then he comes back from injury. He was bad since, in my opinion. So I would probably say a C. Because also, I do think missing time as a quarterback is a big deal. That should be discussed. And I won't lie, CJ, if you want to say Aaron Rodgers is better than CJ Stroud this year, I'm not mad at it, personally. I would just rather CJ Stroud than Aaron Rodgers moving forward. But in terms of, I'm ranking the quarterbacks within the tiers, but the tier is not saying that this quarterback is this tier. It's just the grade that they got for this year, if that makes sense, based off the expectation they had. So, like, a guy like Suge had completely different expectations than Bo Nix, but Bo Nix is a clearly better player than Suge, if that makes sense. Personally, me personally. That's just me, though. I could be tripping, but that's just me. Next, we have Trevor Lawrence. Now, Trevor Lawrence is a guy that, in my opinion, had a very bad start to the season. In my opinion. But towards the midway point, it's kind of like the opposite of Daniel Jones. Towards the midway point, he hit a stride. Like, I think going into the playoffs, he was arguably the hottest player in the league. Or not hottest player, hottest quarterback in the league, while also being on the hottest team in the league. Then in the playoffs, he kind of troll his team. Now, people want to talk about that Josh Allen game. Josh Allen had 4 turnovers. 2 of them was his fault. 2 of them was... if you consider those other 2 his fault, brother, you just don't like Josh Allen at all. It's just simple as that. One of those turnovers that was his fault was outrageous. It was diabolical. Not even gonna lie. But Trevor Lawrence literally could have beat Josh Allen the week before that, and Josh Allen was flawless in that game damn near. Now, there were some plays, flawless damn near is kind of crazy. Josh Allen was very good and mistake-free in terms of turnovers. If you want to say Josh Allen only loses because of turnovers or defense, this would have been a perfect example of losing a game because of defense, regardless of what Josh Allen does. Because Josh Allen, like I said, was good in this game. James Cook was not that good in this game, and they actually had a... So, I ain't gonna lie, now I'm thinking about it. All them James Cook people that say they only win with James Cook regardless of what Josh Allen does, they may have had a case because in that game, Trevor Lawrence kind of threw that game away, where they had a real chance of winning that game if he plays just good. He was just bad in that game. But I think Trevor Lawrence, he had a very good end to the year. Very bad start to the year. But he had some really big games against some good defenses. So I got to give Trevor Lawrence a lot of credit. But I do think Cohen had a lot to do with that. I do think there is... I want to understand the BTJ situation. Like I mentioned that with Matt Jones. I don't know if that's a Trevor Lawrence, Matt Jones situation. I do think BTJ could have been better to start the year. But it's like after he was bad to start the year, and apparently he was dealing with an injury early on in the year. Now, I won't lie. There was points in the games where it looked like he was genuinely scared to catch the ball. Because... I ain't gonna lie, Trevor Lawrence, like I said, he wasn't good. A part of it was he was putting his guys in harmful situations. But also, BTJ got to catch those balls. I won't lie. Regardless of what the quarterback doing, you got to catch those balls. I'm going to keep it to be. Pause. Low key. But Trevor Lawrence, in my opinion, I do think, if I'm real, if I'm honest, I do think Trevor Lawrence actually, if it's kind of similar to Caleb. I don't think this is the guy that was, I think, like I mentioned this with Geno. I mentioned this with Sam Darnold. I think they were in very similar situations. Trevor Lawrence, in my opinion, if you want to say Trevor Lawrence is better than Sam Darnold, I'm not even mad at you. I'm taking Sam Darnold. Now, Trevor Lawrence versus Caleb, I think Trevor Lawrence was just better this year, personally. I don't even think that's too much of a debate. honestly. Like, if we watch both quarterbacks for the third, like, even the parts of the season with Trevor Lawrence wasn't that good to start, I think that he was just better than Caleb, even in those situations. Like, Caleb really wasn't that crazy, in my opinion. I think he had crazy plays. Like, Caleb was really A because of moments and doing it at really big moments in the game, in my opinion. So, yeah, he had some of the most crazy moments of the season, in my opinion. Like, if you just like a neutral fan and you want to see crazy games, Caleb was in a lot of those games. He was in a lot of those games, personally. Brock Purdy, start the season, he was bad. He came back. Honestly, that I think he had a... Alright, so this is what I say. Start the season, he was not good. Then he comes back from injury. He was actually really good. He had 2 bad games. The 2 bad games, that Panthers game was not good at all. The other bad game, the last game of the season, where they had the ability. Just imagine this: the 49ers with all those injuries had the ability to get the 1 seed in the NFC. The stacked NFC this year, they had the ability to get the 1 seed in the NFC. Hey, I'm a Patriots fan. The fact Vrabel won Coach of the Year over Shanahan is ridiculous. Ridiculous, bro. Like, and if that's the reason he didn't, because he didn't get the 1 seed because of the 1 game that he lost 13-3, I don't know what to say, bro. Honestly. Now, I will say, in that game, I don't blame Brock Purdy too much for that. I think Mike McDonald thoroughly outcoached Shanahan. That was like the 1 game Shanahan just got thoroughly outcoached all regular season. I won't lie to you. But also, it was just a big talent gap, bro. Honestly, like, it just was. Like, the injuries was just stacking up at the wrong... Well, it was stacking up all year. This was a game where it just genuinely, you felt it. And they got outcoached. Both ways. I think OC outcoached Sala. They just wasn't putting up points. That game could have been a lot worse than 13-3, by the way. It should have probably been worse. But you can also argue if you're a 49ers, you probably should have scored more, but the Seahawks definitely should have left with way more than 13. And then you seen it in the playoffs with what it really should have probably looked like when it was like 41-6. But in my opinion, Brock Purdy didn't have that crazy of a season. I would probably say more so a C. I would say he's over CJ Stroud. He's not better than JD, in my opinion. Next, we got Baker. Now, Baker is an interesting one because early on in the year, he was an MVP candidate. Now, a lot of that, he was dealing with injuries on the team. Now, I do think Baker was playing through an injury. So, I will give him that. I do think that. But when people started getting healthy, Baker was kind of bad towards the end of the year. So it's like he kind of, honestly, a perfect example is I said Daniel Jones. Low key, Trevor Lawrence is the opposite of Baker. Baker was very good to start the season. MVP combos tailed off towards the end. Trevor Lawrence was not that great to start the season. He was low key, in my opinion, mid. I would say mid. I wouldn't say bad. He was mid. Towards the halfway part and then to end, he was very good. Damn near the hottest quarterback in the league. And he ended up in MVP convos. Not mine. He wasn't in mine. Don't get me wrong. But if you look at his stats, he actually had pretty good stats. I won't lie. But Baker, in my opinion, nah. I can't go too crazy on him. I would probably say B. I give him a B. Because I do think it is important to look that good when the situation is bad. But when the situation looking good, what the hell was that? I won't lie. But I do think Baker was interesting. Now, I will say, when the gimmick of the sack of Woods gimmick stopped, Baker's play dropped. It's simple as that. Like, a lot of them early games, he was a magician in the pocket avoiding crazy sacks. Once that calmed down, he calmed down. Just simple as that. Next, we got Justin Herbert. Now, Herbert is a very tough one to rank. Because I do see it. I kind of talked about this in the team tier list. When it comes to Herbert, because of the person that voted for Herbert as the MVP, undeservingly so. I'm a big Herbert guy. I think I've said multiple times, I think Herbert, you could arguably say he's the most talented quarterback of all time. To me, it is A-Rod. I'm not even a big A-Rod guy, but A-Rod, in his prime peak, he could do everything. Herbert is literally that same thing. Now, there's multiple things that go into this why I can't say it no more. A-Rod, you could really say outside of really hit early on when he was starting, he kind of similar playoff-wise. But Herbert, no, I ain't gonna lie, he ain't nowhere near with A-Rod. I would say A-Rod, the way Herbert played the playoffs is how A-Rod was playing on the Packers when they played the 49ers. That's what I would say. A-Rod against the 49ers in the playoffs was just crazy bad, low-key. When it got to a certain point. It wasn't his whole career, though. But, yeah, it was kind of crazy. He had some crazy performances. But that's damn near Herbert's entire playoff history right now. That game against the Patriots, you can say what you want about the O-line. Bro, they had a position where they started inside the 10, and they left with no points. Like, blame the OC all you want, bro. That level of quarterback leaving the game with 3 points. And I'm going to be honest, if you watch that game, there were multiple plays that Herbert just missed. And I'm going to be real. This was weird to me about Herbert in that game. Herbert in that game was genuinely inconsistent with his accuracy. Herbert is one of the most accurate, best ball throwers I've ever seen, which is why he gets put in those most talented player I've ever seen conversations. If you only watch that game, you would think I'm an idiot for saying that because he genuinely was so bad with his accuracy in reading the field. It's just what it was. Now, running the ball, he was very good. I won't lie. That was his threat. When they started blitzing him, that's when it became an issue. But I do think Herbert it's tough because I don't think his weapons was like Titans level. But I think his weapons to start the season looked a lot better when Joe Alt was playing. When Joe Alt got hurt, everything looked worse. The weapons and Herbert. It's not like the weapons just, I will say Johnston was kind of like the big one though. Johnson was very good to start the season. He was the wide receiver one. If you watch the Chargers, he was the real wide receiver one. It wasn't Keenan. It wasn't Ladd. Ladd coming into the season, you expected him. But it was low-key Quentin Johnston. Now, in my opinion, I think Herbert I think McDaniels, he gonna make Herbert look crazy next year. Regardless what weapons they got. I think he gonna make this joint work. Him and Hampton gonna look really good. But, I genuinely think that this team, he needs a player that's very good deep. Pause, bro. Hey, bro. Hey, I'm gonna just say Herbert, bro, is a tough one to rank because I don't really agree with the MVP conversation, but I do still think he was an A. He was better than all these three quarterbacks. But I ain't gonna lie. Nah, I can't even say Darnold, bro. I can't. Because Herbert defense in that game was ridiculous. Like, they were ridiculous. And I ain't gonna lie. That game, I think May was mid. I wouldn't say bad. He was mid. Like, people are looking at these games and just looking at the stats. And I think the EPA thing, which it should, it rates turnovers highly. A lot of the turnovers in the playoffs wasn't all Drake May fault. In this game, it was like 50-50, in my opinion. The Texans game, we're going to talk about when we get to Drake May. But at the end of the day, the defense was getting him the turnovers. He wasn't capitalizing off nothing. He wasn't giving their defense nothing, bro. And I will give Herbert this. The play calling was bad in the aspect that they abandoned a run, and the game was close pretty much the whole game. Like, it's just what it was. Like, and the best person running the ball in the game for the Chargers was Herbert. So, again, it's tough. I do think that they kind of played into the Patriots' strengths where the Patriots, they have really good DBs. I don't think the Chargers' wide receiver room was that bad, but going against Gonzo, Carlton Davis, and Marcus Jones, and Woody was really good in these playoffs as well. So it's like, yeah. And then knowing that your O-line is very weak on the interior, and I don't think the Patriots edges really did much of anything in that game personally. But yeah, Milton Williams he just ate up, bro. He was eating. Him and Durden was just eating. And by the way, I don't think Barmore played in that game. So yeah, I don't know. That was just a really bad Herbert game. But I do think Herbert, and this is another one. To start the year, he was the best quarterback in the league. Them first three games, Herbert was ridiculous. Them first 3 games, Herbert was ridiculous. Joe Alt gets injured, bro. I'm not going to lie. The drop-off was ridiculous. That's why I'm like, bro, if you trying to say he's an MVP because of the situation, would that not just make Joe Alt the MVP? Because when Joe Alt played and when he didn't, that man looked completely different, bro. That's what's really just weird to me about that conversation, personally. But yeah, Jordan Love. I think Jordan Love may be the most underrated quarterback in the league right now. Jordan Love, see the thing with Jordan Love, his stat line would say he played a perfect game. He didn't. He left a lot on that field in that Bears game. I do think he had some big plays, but if he was more consistent at sustaining drives, they would have been fine. But I do think the Bears defense actually had a good game. The issue with the Bears defense in a couple of these Packers game is, especially that first and this game, whenever the Packers did score, they were scoring touchdowns. And that's just kind of what it was. So that's not to say I'm blaming Jordan Love for this game at all. I'm not saying that at all. But I do believe that he could have did more in the second half. First half, they had like a 21-0, 21-3 lead. And honestly, that was the closest 21-3, 21-0 lead ever, because the Bears was just very aggressive. They was going for it on fourth downs, and they weren't getting it, in my opinion. Maybe even doing some bad, and some of them fourth downs, it wasn't like it was a bad play call or it was a bad decision to go. It was really, I'm gonna be real again, like I talked about it with Caleb. Caleb is just, a lot of the time, the execution is just not there, to be real. It's just what it is. And that's not really dissing Caleb. It's just, he a young quarterback. He gonna make mistakes. I'm not saying he gotta be perfect. But Jay Love was taking advantage of a lot of that stuff, and they was at a 21-3 lead. Second half, Bears starting to roar back, as they've done all season against the Packers. Because by the way, another thing is, when you play a team for the third time, and they talk about this with Stafford, which we will talk about later, it's gonna be a lot different than when you play them one time. Like, you can study film, but having the experience of playing a team not once, twice, but 3 times is completely different. Like, it's just what it is. So, I don't know. Jay Love, he only got to play twice because he didn't play the second one. I'm saying more so with Caleb. But, yeah. I would say Jay Love, for me, I would say A. Because O-line, I don't think that O-line situation was that good this year. I think wide receivers, his guys was in and out the lineup all year. You could honestly argue S. It wasn't a great quarterback season to me, honestly. But the thing that kind of probably does keep him out of S for me is he was injured. And this is like the second year in a row where he's in and out the lineup. If your quarterback is in and out the lineup, that is huge. That can't be happening. And the thing that also does hurt him, Malik Willis was very good when he did miss games. So I don't know. Is it the scheme or is it you? That's what I would say. Jalen Hurts. I think Jalen Hurts was better this year than he was last year. He was better than I honestly expected. There were some games where they lost kind of because of him. But I think Jalen Hurts is a very good guy at not being the reason his team is going to lose, in my opinion. I think he's become a guy that is going to be part of a team. He's a team guy. I don't think he's going to ever be... I mean, if I'm being honest, he is, like, if you want to talk about when they do the flaws in the team, when they are struggling, it kind of does go back to Hurts. Hey, bro, I may have just chatted low-key because that's damn near what I believe. So I do think there was aspects of the Eagles that was struggle, but I will say this. This year, when it came to early on in the year, until that Lions game, teams came out selling out to stop Saquon. Lions said, Saquon ain't really been doing much. We ain't gonna stack the box with 8 or 9. We gonna put 6 in that box. We gonna commit that. We're gonna still stop the run, but you're not finna pass on us. And they did that. They still lost because Jared Goff was just as bad as Hurts. Then you had a game against the Bears, where the Bears, first half, they committing numbers in the box to stop the run. Second half, they kind of do similar to what the Lions did. Hurts was awful in that second half. Awful. Terrible. I won't lie. So I won't lie. When it comes to a lot of these games where, and again, 49ers again, I ain't gonna lie. Now, I will say Saquon just wasn't as good this year as last year. Last year, that's one of the greatest peaks for a running back ever, though. I want people to really understand what Saquon was last year. He was doing everything. Rushing, receiving, pass blocking. He was doing everything. Like, he had everything. The vision. Like, he just had everything, bro, last year. You just couldn't do nothing about Saquon. This year, teams was selling out to stop Saquon. Not only was Saquon just not the same level player as last year, he just had more attention. It's just what it was. Teams was selling out to do that, and Jalen Hurts took advantage of it some games. Some games he didn't have to. It's just what I would say. But some of them L's was on him, some of it wasn't. That's kind of what I was trying to say earlier. I was trying to say not all the L's are on him. I feel like some haters would say that, but also Eagles fans will act like he's nowhere near the problem. Where I won't lie, he is part of the core problem, but I don't think he's bad enough to the point that you have to replace him, because in both Super Bowls, he's been very good. So, like, if he was bad in those games, it's like, okay. And they were still winning, it's like, okay, maybe we do replace him. But no, hell no. He's been good. And I don't even think he was that bad this year. I would say B, though. I would say, I don't know, Baker better than Jalen Hurts this year. I'm going to keep it being. I'm not even a big Jalen Hurts guy. But Baker actually, that second half was kind of, that second half of the season was kind of crazy. I won't lie. Jared Goff. Jared Goff is a very tough one to rank because, honestly, I think Jared Goff, he didn't have the same level of scheme. I think honestly, I don't think the play calling was that bad when Campbell took over. I think the play call was actually still pretty solid. And I think they kind of just started going more towards the Jameson Williams route instead of the Amon-Ra. But I will say, Goff, this year, it looked like he struggled with pressure a little bit more. And that's kind of what I'm saying. Like, when you have that level of OC, he's going to have plays. Like, when he's going to go against guys that's going to generate pressure, that's going to make it easy on the quarterback. You know what I'm saying? He didn't really have that level of an OC this year, or a play caller, or a scheme. It's just what it was. Well, the scheme is kind of the same, where they're going to run the ball and they're going to play action over the top. And that still worked this year, but teams are understanding it, so, and the play design and play calling was just not to that same level, is what I'm trying to say. So, I don't really blame Jared Goff too much for that. I still think he was still that same caliber guy this year, personally. But I would say Jared Goff was here. For me personally. I don't think it was bad, but I don't think it was that great. I think it was more so a defense issue with the Lions this year. I don't think the offense was an issue. I looked at it, though, last year. I didn't notice. The Lions was averaging 33, 34 points per game in the regular season, like for the whole regular season. That is genuinely unbelievable. That is unbelievable, bro. 33 points per game, like you're averaging that for the season? Unbelievable. Genuinely unbelievable. They got Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott S. I do think Dak had some bad games this year. But the situation Dak had, there was games where Dak didn't have his wide receiver one, still balling. There was pretty much every game this year, he had no defense, still balling. And when I'm saying no defense, like a lot of people talk about quarterbacks having O-lines or not having O-lines. Some teams talk about quarterbacks having no wide receivers. Literally having one of the worst defenses I have ever seen. And I know Bengals fans going to be like, bro, we deal with that all the time. I'm going to be real. Bengals had some bad defenses these last 2 to 3 years. That Cowboys defense before the trade deadline was genuinely, they had nothing. They didn't have a pass rush. They didn't have an interior pass rush. They didn't have a run defense inside or outside. They didn't have a safety. They didn't have a DB, bro. They didn't have a linebacker. Oh, no. One thing I will maybe give them was low-key that linebacker. I low-key did like that linebacker. I won't lie. Outside of him, I don't even think the play caller was that bad. He just didn't scheme it up for the way that they needed to play. They have no talent. So what do you do when you don't really have talent? You damn near just got a blitz game. You just got a damn near blitz spam. Just take the blind four-ass route where, just make everybody look a lot better than what they are. Just get as much pressure on the quarterback. Shorten their clock. You know what I'm saying? That's really all you gotta do when you really just don't have that much talent. Like, if they beat you, they beat you, bro. But I'm gonna keep it being like, you giving up 34 points, dropping into the zone every play. Like, come on, bro. What we doing? Like, what we doing? I think Dak was actually really good. Like, you gotta think about it. There was a large majority of the season where he was playing without his 4 starting offensive linemen and his wide receiver 1 and 3, and was in MVP conversations. Dak was really good this year, in my opinion. I think Dak, especially for the way people talk about him because he's on the Cowboys, I honestly think the coach actually did really good too. So I give him a lot of credit. And the thing with Dak is he's very good pre-snap. He's very good post-snap. Dak is going to have those games where it's like, what the hell am I looking at? But for the most part, I think Dak was like, he opened my eyes. I look at him a lot differently now, personally. 100%. Now, the way it is, I was looking at his joint. He'll have a season like this, then have a bad season. Then have another season like this, then have a bad season. So, the way it's looking, he on pace to have a really bad season next year. So, hope that's... I'm not going to lie. I'm unbiased, but let's keep moving. Matthew Stafford S. It's not really much to talk about here. MVP conversations, you can discredit them. I think in terms of the MVP conversation for the regular season, I thought Drake May deserved it. When it came to the playoffs, Stafford clearly deserved it after that, bro. Like, that's why I don't really like how these awards are done. Like, what do you mean the most important games of the year don't factor into the awards for the year? Like, NBA, all these sports that do that make no sense to me personally. It makes no sense. Like, how can the most important time of the season not matter? How does that not factor into that? That makes no sense to me. But I'm glad that they did give it to Matthew Stafford, personally. Even as a Patriots fan, even as a Drake May fan. I just didn't like the things around it. Like, you got Dan Orlovsky talking about, I don't care if it's the wrong decision, I'm going with Matthew Stafford. I could be wrong. I'm still going with Matthew Stafford. You got another person talking about Matthew Stafford, 41, Drake May's 23. He got time. Bro, I'm going to keep it being, bro. That shit don't got nothing to do with anything. My entire case for Drake May was he was the most efficient quarterback in the league with a bad situation. And a lot of this bad situation stuff he made look good. Now, I think, honestly, the fact that McDaniels got Assistant of the Year is diabolical as a Patriots fan. Not even going to lie. That brother is one of the most inconsistent play calling people I've ever seen. Like, he'll have a drive where it's the best shit you've ever seen. The next drive will be horrible. Bro, the Super Bowl we just played. We played against one of the craziest blitz percentage teams in the league. And I ain't gonna lie, the Seahawks was doing shit they ain't did all season. The Patriots are a team that like I said, Drake May is a person that he does all the protections. He does all the motion stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's not the center. So it was some plays where Drake May would motion the running back out to see if his man or zone. Bro, the Seahawks was genuinely trolling. There would be plays where not a soul would move defensively, and that shit was man. There was plays where he would do the motion. A nigga would literally motion with him, and it was zone. There was plays where the whole damn team was on the line of scrimmage. Everybody would drop off one of the random corners with splits and spoon. He would be one-on-one with the tackle. After, by the way, Drake May thought it was going to be a crazy blitz, a cover zero blitz damn near, a cover one blitz damn near. He blocks everything, and his tackle is losing one-on-one to a corner. So it's like, I'm going to be real, bro. There's only so much I can really say on that. Now, Drake May was bad in that. We're going to talk about that when we get there. But I'm going to keep it a beam, bro. When it comes to the situations, I just thought it was completely different. One guy dealing with that. One guy dealing with McVay, Tay, Puka, one of the best run teams in the league, while also having a good O-line. Now, I do think the O-line can be inconsistent. It's kind of like Caleb. I think Caleb's good, but he's inconsistent. I think the O-line for the Rams is good, but inconsistent. I think there were just games where they was a little rocky, and some games where they were very good. I think those last two Seahawks games, they were very good, personally. But I think Stafford, bro, like, Stafford is just doing it. Like, even listen to the thing. They was talking about how a lot of the young guys on the Patriots had tails when it came to Drake May. When he's throwing the ball deep, he has a tail. When he's throwing the ball, when he's about to throw the ball, he has a tail. When it comes to Stafford, they were saying Stafford don't. Sometimes it'll be plays that Stafford don't even look. And we've seen the highlights where Stafford don't look. He does a little no-look throw. Those are things that, I'm going to be real, I don't think every quarterback probably should be doing the no-look, because that's a really, really tough play to make. But the fact that he can do stuff like that is crazy. So, I think Stafford had a very good year. I think he got a lot of I do think Stafford in the all-time combos is gonna start getting overrated. I think because Darnold, people don't want to overrate Darnold, kind of like they were doing with Hurts last year after winning the Super Bowl. I think that conversation is probably gonna be Stafford, where I've already seen people talking about Stafford's a top 10 quarterback. I disagree. When Stafford was in his prime, he was arguably not a top 10 quarterback in the league at that time. Like, that's how deep the quarterback, that's how it was back then. I've talked about it all year. The quarterback position was very bad this year. It's just what it was. That's just the reality of it. Like, the quarterback race was literally a clear example of that, where you have a very old guy that's just in a really good situation and a very young guy that's coming up. And those were the two stamped. None of the big four was in it. You could say Josh Allen, I guess. Joe Burrow wasn't in it. Mahomes wasn't in it. Lamar wasn't in it. None of those guys was really in it. So, it just wasn't a good quarterback season for real. But Matthew Stafford, in my opinion, He deserves an S, in my opinion. I think he had a very good season. And then, another thing I will give Matthew Stafford is his defense in some of these games was just not that good. Like, the 49ers game that they lost. I don't blame Stafford for that. I think the real reason they lost was low-key McVay. I think McVay was good in the game. That fourth down play call to run the game after you haven't been able to run the ball all game, but they couldn't stop the pass at all, was diabolical. That was the real reason they lost that game, and the defense. The defense kind of was just... There's no reason for that 49ers team to score that many points on that team. Like, that 49ers offense was decimated by injuries. Like, they had Mac Jones looking like Tom Brady at a certain point in that game, in that first half. Second half, he started to calm down, but Mac Jones was very good in that game. But I do think Stafford had some games where you think about the Panthers, the Falcons, where he genuinely was the reason they lost. So, yeah, I would say... I do still, even with that, you know what I'm saying? Even with that good offense, I do think because his defense had so many flaws, there would be games where if Stafford didn't play good, they were losing. Another example of that was that Bears game. He was not good in that Bears game. He wasn't. That Panthers game in the playoffs, he was good in the first quarter, good in the fourth. I did my review on it when I did when I was doing the recaps of the games. He was good in the first and the fourth, second and third he was bad, and he gave the Panthers a chance to win that game. The Bears had a chance to win that game because the Bears defense was locking the Rams. But the reason why, the reason why they didn't was because the offense for the Bears just wasn't doing anything. They weren't good enough at that point. Like, they should have won. Like, they were 5 yards away and they threw a pick. Like, that was one of the worst decisions of the season from anybody. Like, they literally had the NFC Championship ticket booked, and that's what happened. That was just crazy to me. That was actually wild. So Stafford, it's a couple things in my opinion where you can say if he's having a bad game, they're gonna lose. Where you can be like, that's the most valuable player, because like if he has a bad game and they losing, but every time he played good, they win it. You know, like I do think the defensive margin of error wasn't nowhere near the level of Drake May, if you want to talk about that. But like I said, I think Stafford was deserving of the MVP if you put the playoffs into it, because he was just drastically better. We're gonna talk about it more later, but yeah, Joe Burrow is a tough one. Joe Burrow, talked about it. He kind of starts every season like that, but then he got hurt. Everybody at the time was talking about how O-line was bad, and then the person replaces him, and people they was like, maybe this is a bad situation. Joe Flacco goes out there and looks very good. Everybody shut up about that. And they like, oh, is Joe Burrow not that good? Now I'm gonna be real. I look at Joe Burrow and Dak in similar veins. I don't think Dak has the consistency of Joe Burrow. Where you could argue Joe Burrow ain't that consistent himself because of the injuries, but I would say that's more so the injuries. You could probably argue something similar with that. But Joe Burrow, in my opinion, there's some plays where he'll try to do some Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar type things that he just can't do. You know what I'm saying? But Joe Burrow, pre-snap, post-snap, very good. That pre-snap, post-snap, very good. Accuracy, pre-snap, post-snap. He got accuracy, pre-snap, post-snap, not the craziest big arm. I think they're a lot more comparable than people will probably let on. And I think this year showcased that, where Dak was in a similar situation where his O-line was only in that similar situation because of the fact that he had injuries. And then you had CD and Pickens versus T and Chase. And his defense was very bad. And Dak looked very Joe Burrow-esque this year. That's the best way to really describe it, honestly. But I do think Joe Burrow, when he came back, was very good until that Bills game. That Bills game, he was very good, and then he wasn't. He was very good until he wasn't. He literally threw the game away. The next week, they played the Ravens again, I believe. The first Raven game, he was very good in the second half. First half, he was okay. I think he was a little rusty. That was his first game back. Then they played the Ravens again. Very good. Throws the game away, you know? So, yeah, those two games, it makes it a little tougher to rank him overall. And then after that, he was very good again. So, it's like, you know, I don't really know how much to really go off of. The injuries are kind of killing him. I'll probably say C with JD. You know, the injuries kind of just killed his season for me in terms of trying to rank it, personally. Next, we have Lamar. Now, Lamar, I'm going to keep it being, bro. He was my favorite player coming into the season. yeah, I can't do it no more. Your fan base is crazy. Now, the thing is, it's funny about the fan base. The fan base has complained and been annoying so much to the point that they got what they wanted. I'm gonna be real. Lamar is in a crazy situation next year where they're gonna have a young, interesting OC. I don't know too much about him. I just know he's coming from the Bears. But he seems like he's gonna be a young, interesting OC. Don't know too much outside of that. Coming from the Bears under Ben Johnson. The coach that he got is one of the top 5 defensive minds in football. I would argue. I'm thinking Mike McDonald, Brian Flores, him. I ain't gonna lie. I may say those are 3. It may be somebody I'm forgetting. I think it's some other guys that's debatable when you think of like the Robert Salahs, the D'Amico Ryans. I don't think D'Amico Ryans is that crazy defensive mind. That may be a hot take. Vance Joseph is probably in that top 5. I don't think D'Amico Ryans is in that top 5 to me because when you watch the Texans, it's not really that much complicated. It's really a simple defense where he just allows the talent to thrive, which is not a negative, but it's not on the level of those other guys or those 3 guys. He may still be top 5. I just think those 3 guys probably a step above, in my opinion, where they're scheming pressure, they're disguising shit behind it. He don't really disguise that much behind it. He'll a lot of the times he'll do pressure where he don't have to. Where, yeah, a whole nother discussion for another day. We gonna probably talk about that when we get later into it. The Lamar though, when it comes to Lamar, I think Lamar, bro, this year, bro, I don't think Lamar had a good year, bro. I think early on in the year, Lamar, the offense was getting trolled by the defense, but even early on, I don't think Lamar was that good. Like the first game against the Bills. The stat line, you could argue that is his best game of the season. He was very, very good in that game. The stat line may not show it, but he didn't have to do much. They were like, if you watched it drive by drive, whether they wanted to run the ball or pass the ball, they were not getting stopped until the last 5 minutes of the game, and they ended up losing. The next week, that game was a struggle. That game they blew out the Browns, but that was really more so all fourth quarter. That game was a lot closer than the scoreline showed. That was really a low-scoring game. The Browns did a very good job on them the first 3 quarters, and then fourth quarter, just Lamar Jackson. Then you had, I don't remember what came first, the Lions and the Chiefs. Once the Chiefs game came, then it was like, it fell off a cliff. That Chiefs game, he was never the same. And then people was gassing like the Steelers game. I honestly think he wasn't that good in that game. The fourth quarter, he was good. So, and I'm going based off of Lamar's standards because I've done this with every single other player when it came to my expectations for them. Lamar, off my expectations, MVP candidate every single season in the regular season. Playoffs, he's going to be bad. It's just what it is. Like, it don't even matter if he has a good defense or a bad defense. The only situation I haven't seen him in is when he has receiving weapons. I've seen him where he's had a good O-line. I've seen him when he's had a really good running back. I have never seen him when he has like elite weapons, I guess you could say. That's the only thing you can really say with Lamar. I think Monken was a good play caller, was not an elite. So maybe you could say he's never had an elite OC as well, which I kind of mentioned earlier. I think we just are kind of going away from these, I guess, elite quarterbacks because one, these elite quarterbacks just not that same level. Because when you think about it, a lot of these elite quarterbacks have kind of replaced the mind game with athleticism. So when they're going against defenses that's doing crazy shit like they are now, they don't really have the mind to like dictate it, I guess you could say, to like diagnose it, if that makes sense. But they kind of just give their guys time, regardless with their athleticism, if that makes sense. But what's making up for that, the mind thing, not just athleticism, is a lot of these teams have really good OCs. So I think if Lamar just had a really good OC, maybe it'd be different in the playoffs. If he had a good elite weapon, where he could just depend on them in a lot of situations, maybe good in the playoffs. He just hasn't done that yet. So we'll see. I do think giving him a margin for error defense is definitely the way to win for a quarterback that has showcased. You kind of seen that this year with Drake May, where it was half and half to me with Drake May, where first 2 games, clear playoff dropper. There's a difference between playing bad and clear playoff dropper. The last 2, he was just bad. Like, in the Seahawks game, there was nothing going right on the offense. I think McDaniels had his worst game of the season. I think the O-line had one of their worst. I don't know if it was the worst. That Texans game, bro, if I speak, the wide receiver core probably had their worst game of the season in that game. So I think that it was a couple of different things going into it, but also when Drake May had chances, he was not good. So I don't know. But you seen the margin for error that he had in that game. You seen the margin for error he had in the Broncos game. You seen the margin for error he had in the Texans game. You seen the margin for error he had in the Chargers game. That's because of the defense. So you give these quarterbacks that just maybe they're very, you know what I'm saying, MVP caliber guys in the regular season. They drop in the postseason. I think the Patriots showed us a perfect example of what that could look like. You know what I'm saying? But maybe you look at teams like the Texans and the Broncos well, I guess not the Broncos too much because they're not really dependent on that. Maybe the Chargers. Oh, Chargers may be a perfect example. I ain't gonna lie, because they had an elite defense with a supposedly elite quarterback who just drops every single time in the playoffs, and they just couldn't get anything out their offense but the defense. Like, say what you want about Drake May in them 3 games, he was making the plays to win the game. Now, I won't lie, the Broncos one was a lot more debatable. He ends the game. I don't know about to win the game. Like, the Texans, he legitimately won the game. The Chargers, he made a couple plays. It's a little bit more debatable than the Texans. Lamar, it kind of just comes down. Like, the Chiefs, when they had the 0 point second half, I don't know. It's not really, it wasn't his fault, in my opinion, because you got things going on like people fumbling at the 1. So it's like tough. But this year, I don't even have that MVP caliber guy in the regular season, and he didn't make the playoffs. So it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like Joe Burrow, I'm not even too surprised about him not making the playoffs because the Bengals weren't that good in my opinion. I thought the Ravens coming to this year, they had a crazy offseason, and Lamar wasn't that good or the defense. So I don't know, bro. I really don't know. Lamar is a really tough one. I would probably say Lamar is C. I don't know who's better between Joe Burrow and Lamar. I think Joe Burrow probably played better, but Joe Burrow also missed more time. So that's a tougher one. But Lamar missing time this year and not playing that crazy is kind of tough to. It makes him tough to rank. You know what I'm saying? It just does, in my opinion. And then next we have Pat Mahomes. Pat Mahomes has had a very weird year if we going from that Super Bowl to whatever. Like, I ain't gonna lie, that Patriots Super Bowl, I genuinely think people have amnesia, bro, what happened last year, bro. Bro, going into the 4th, and by the way, by the midway through the 3rd, the Chiefs was already getting garbage time. Bro, it was like midway through the 3rd, they didn't even cross their own 45. Forget the midfield. They didn't even cross their own 45 until midway in the 3rd. And I'm seeing takes like this is the worst Super Bowl at the. By the way, this is at the halftime of the game, and it's 6-0. This is the worst Super Bowl performance I've ever seen from a team. And they weren't talking about just the game. Now I ain't gonna lie, if you want to see the game, even as a Patriots fan, hey, my hands are up. That game was ass. Hey, that game was ass. You know what I'm saying? 4th quarter, you know what I'm saying? They started. I thought it was garbage time, but hey, it was a point in the game where they actually had a chance, and then he threw like the dumbest pick I ever seen. I ain't gonna cap. But Mahomes was genuinely just bad in that game. Like, a lot of that, it was just, Mahomes was bad. Like, the Eagles was literally locking. And like I said, I ain't gonna lie, the Eagles was saving their best shit of the season in that game. Whether you want to talk about the play calling, the design, the disguises, the blitz. They didn't blitz, by the way. They didn't blitz. They was doing some crazy coverages and schemes. They weren't blitzing at all, for real. And they was getting pressure with 4 consistently. So, and this was with the Chiefs having a good O-line. Now, I do think that left tackle was a big issue, and they put Tooney there, and that didn't work. But when you put your best, well, not your best guard, because they also had Smith, they also have Creed Humphrey, but you do weaken your interior when your guard is an all-pro, your center is arguably the best center in the league, and your other guard is an all-pro. Your tackles may be weak, but at least your interior is going to be good. When you weaken your interior to move one of those interior guys to left tackle, and he's not good at left tackle, now you have a problem. You kind of seen that with the Patriots in a game against the Seahawks. Bro, that left side of the O-line, if I speak. So, I don't know. I don't blame Mahomes too much for that game. I will say Xavier Worthy was very good in that game, so that was just weird. But that was also garbage time, so I don't know. But then you got this year, where now I ain't gonna lie, a lot of the expectation shit is my fault. I won't lie. Because coming into this year, I thought Mahomes, if I was betting on anybody to win the MVP, I thought Mahomes was gonna be very motivated coming out of that game. Cause the Buccaneers game, that was bad. Cause at that time they had no defense. You know what I'm saying? At least in that Eagles game, they had a defense. Were they an all-time defense like the year prior? No, it was a good defense. They just had a good defense and an okay offense. The Chiefs just weren't that great of a team overall. It's kind of like the Patriots, to be honest. Where, yeah, we'll talk about that when we get there. But I would say the Chiefs this year was a weird year because, in my opinion, this was Mahomes' best year since Reed left, outside of 2022. I just don't think the other 2 years he was that good. I don't even know if 2022 he was that good personally. I think this year you could argue was the best year since then. But the difference was in the clutch, Mahomes just wasn't Mahomes. And in a lot of these big games, Mahomes was bad, genuinely bad. So it's tough, bro. And I honestly, the thing is that's weird. I actually like the Simmons pickup. The Tooney trade don't really make too much sense. He ended up winning the offensive lineman of the year. I didn't really agree with it. Definitely a really good lineman. I just didn't really agree with it. But imagine they draft that guy. And you keep Tooney. So you pretty much got Creed, Smith, Tooney. But I do understand trading Tooney because you have to pay him. So when you that good of a team, there's gonna be a lot of good players that you have to pay that you just have to let go. So to get something for him, it makes sense. But I like Simmons. It wasn't just a one tackle situation. They had to fix both. It wasn't a realistic thing. So we'll see what they do moving forward. They also moved their tackle that they picked the year prior inside. I don't think he was that good this year, honestly. He was okay. But I think that this is a running game situation offensively. I don't think outside of that it's that much of an issue. I do think that the Chiefs methodically have to move the ball. I don't think Mahomes' deep accuracy is just bad. I don't think the arrow was really that crazy like people act like. I think that people kind of really disrespect Reek in a lot of that. I think Mahomes' arm talent is ridiculous, like I said. But his accuracy down the field ain't never really been that crazy. It's some obviously, bro, it's Mahomes. He got some throws where he threw guys in stride, but more than not, Reek was having to come back on a lot of those balls or have to make crazy plays on a lot of those balls. I won't lie. Reek's speed was a big factor for their deep game. Now, another thing is a lot of teams do play that cover too. I don't think they do it as much the last 2 years because they're such a dink and dunk team that like you can't really do that. But yeah, I just think Mahomes, I think he was better this year. I think Rice and Worthy just didn't have as good of a year as you kind of expected. That's the guy that you really could say. But also, I just don't think Mahomes was that crazy, bro. I would probably say Mahomes was like I wouldn't say C like these, but I would say probably like a B. For Mahomes. You gotta think about it. This is Patrick Mahomes we are talking about. They didn't make the playoffs. I think in some of these games, the offense was good. Some of these games, the offense was really bad. Like, it's just what it was. So, yeah. And in the division, they didn't have a good time at all in that division. And I don't think this division finna get any easier with the Raiders making really good decisions, in my opinion. So, we'll see. But, yeah, Chiefs are interesting. And I think this was, honestly, around the time that the season was ending, I'm like, the Chiefs low-key did a little good of a tank where they gonna actually have a good draft and they gonna be able to take advantage of this pick. But this is probably the worst draft class possible. And if you don't be able to get Jeremiah Love at that pick, hey, man, they may be looking a little sketchy for the Chiefs coming up next year, bro. I'm not going to lie. Because they don't even got money like that. They don't got money at all. And they got guys they got to pay that's probably going to leave even more on the defense. And the defense, the thing I would say is the defense was slipping up this year because they've been losing guys these last 2 years. So, we'll see. Then we have Josh Allen. In my opinion, I think Josh Allen, I don't think his situation was as bad as last year because James Cook was just better than last year. But outside of James Cook, Shakir was not as good as last year. So it's just tough. I think the O-line was better than last year, though. I will say that. You could argue that the Bills had the best O-line. I would say Broncos, Colts, Bills, those are the three teams I would argue as the three best. Is there somebody else I would argue? The Bears had a really good O-line. I don't know if they're in that combo, though. I'm trying to think. The Saints had a really good O-line. I won't lie. I don't think they're in that combo. Eagles not in that combo this year. Like, I know a lot of people love the Eagles O-line. It's just like a off of history, but they weren't in that combo this year. I'll probably say those three teams. Yeah, I'll probably say those three teams. Again, though, I say this, and they hired this man as the head coach. I like Joe Brady, but I don't think this scheme is really meant for Josh Allen, personally. I don't think they really even have the weapons that fit Josh Allen. So, and the league is going away from the way that they are building this team, offense and defense. So, like I said, bro, when it comes to these top-end quarterbacks, the Chiefs are kind of getting worse. The Ravens low-key getting better. I ain't gonna lie. The Ravens is like that one team out of them top four quarterbacks where their team is legitimately getting better with the situation. Like the Chiefs, I feel like Mahomes, his whole career, he either had elite weapons or an elite O-line. And then even when he had an elite O-line, he had an elite defense. Now, these last 2 years, it's been a little bit shakier on those points where he didn't really have an elite weapon. He didn't really have elite O-line. And he didn't really have an elite defense. Where Rice, you could argue, was an elite weapon, depending on how you want to talk about it. But that's where it kind of does get a little weird because he's not Reek. He's not prime Kelsey. You know what I'm saying? He walked into prime Kelsey and Reek. Then when Reek left, they kind of just developed into one of the best defenses in the league, if not the best defense in the league. And then the last 2 years, they kind of been going away from that as well. So I don't know. Then you got the damn Bengals doing whatever the hell that is. I ain't even gonna speak on it. Josh Allen, I think that I talked about this before when it comes to his MVP case. His MVP case was in the big games in the regular season, he was very, very good. Very, very good. You think about the game when he played the Chiefs. Mahomes was very bad in that game. Josh Allen was damn near perfect. You think about the game against the Ravens. Josh Allen was ridiculous in that game. You think about the game against the Bengals. I don't think Josh Allen was that crazy in that game. I think Joe Burrow, like I said, he kind of just trolled that game away at the end. Won't lie. He damn near gave them the game. I won't lie. But even that second game against Drake May, he was ridiculous in that game. And then you got the Buccaneers game when he had a lot of big comebacks as well that people like was talking about. So I think he just he was very good in big games. He had some crazy comebacks. That was his case. But you really looking at it for what it really was, he didn't have his 40 touchdowns, which he really was getting. I kind of feel bad for the Bills fans and Josh Allen fans. He didn't have his 40 touchdowns that he regularly does. But if you go look at it, he had 39. And he sat out the last game. So that was pretty funny. But honestly, bro, Josh Allen, he's going to get touchdowns. He's going to produce a good offense. But at a certain point, you got to get him weapons. I do think James Cook and the O-line, they played their part. I think Josh Allen just was not as good this year as he was last year. At the end of the day, whether you want to talk about the playoffs or the regular season, he just wasn't. So, I do think that is on Josh Allen. I would still say he wasn't S, but I would say A. He was A. I think if I was to be real and say who's the best quarterback in the league, I would say Josh Allen, personally. Because I think last year was the best quarterback. I think this year was the best quarterback. Like, forever want to say about Mahomes beating him last year, he was a better quarterback than Mahomes last year. Even when they played, Josh Allen was better than Mahomes in that game. So, like, I don't know. And then we have Drake May. Now, Drake May is probably the most polarizing quarterback in the league. I ain't gonna lie, I'm moving Darnold up to S. The bro won a Super Bowl. Like, I'm not gonna lie, yeah, I'm moving Darnold up to S. I was chatting with that one. Drake May is just tough, bro. Because when it comes to Drake May, regular season, you could argue he was the best quarterback in the regular season. Genuinely. Because, like, legitimately, I think he has actually deluded some fan bases into believing that this was a good... Like, I'm gonna keep it a bean. I don't even think people even realize what they're doing. I'm seeing people glaze Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs coming into the season was a 31-year-old quarterback that didn't want to be touched because he was coming off a torn ACL. If you watch Patriots games, I ain't gonna lie, if you watch that Bills game, you probably think Stephon Diggs is a top 10 guy. Stephon Diggs was not good this year, for real. Like, one thing I would give Diggs is he caught everything. I'll give him that, for sure. But you can see that he lost his athleticism. He's savvy with his routes, but like he takes long to get into his routes. Now, I will say this for Stephon Diggs. In the Super Bowl, offensively, outside of Ramondre, and it's tough when you're a wide receiver to showcase it, he was like the only guy that actually played good. Like, if you go watch the film, and like I said, it wasn't a lot of plays where people was getting open. Stephon Diggs was the guy that was getting open if you want to talk about guys that Drake May was just missing. But the thing about the Super Bowl, I talked about this earlier. The issue with Drake May in this game was he wasn't good. I'm going to talk about why in terms of him. But the things around him, the O-line situation, bad. Wide receiver situation, bad. It just was bad. The run game situation, bad. It just was bad. Now, first drive, I think that was not really Drake May, nothing he could do, honestly. I think that was just O-line trolled that drive, in my opinion. Second drive, they actually they started out really well. They put Hendo in the game. The Seahawks they studied the film. They know if Hendo's in the game, what's going to come. Hendo can't really... Coming into the year, it's kind of funny that Hendo was supposed to be an elite pass blocker. It's known that he can't pass block. So when Hendo's in the game, all you gotta do is just commit extra numbers to the box because you know they probably running, and if they are passing, just blitz because he's not gonna block. He's gonna go out for a pass. The Patriots know he can't block. Teams know he can't block. So that drive got killed because we doing a run up the middle, lose 5 yards on a run play. You know what I'm saying? The next play we throw it out, they locking that up because they blitz, so he has to throw a quick one, and he throw it to Hendo. He can't make a guy miss. I don't blame Hendo too much for that play. I kind of blame the coaching staff kind of forcing him into a game where it's not really necessary. We're not in a development game. So I think Ricky started out rocky. I don't think Drake May started out the game that bad, personally. Now, when we got like midway through the second and third is when Drake May was playing bad. I don't think fourth quarter he was that bad. I think he had the pick. The pick he had was crazy. Now the pick 6, if you blaming Drake May for that, I'm gonna be real. You don't like Drake May. I'm gonna keep it a beat. Now, there were some plays in that fourth quarter he definitely should have threw picks. But like, if you was watching that game, literally he had to take risks, bro. Now, my thing with Drake May, I mentioned this earlier. I think midway through second and third, and you could even throw the Broncos game in there, I think he just had a little bit of PTSD. When it came to that Texans game, I think this was his best game of the playoffs. But, bro, if you go watch them sacks, bro, them niggas was on his ass instantly, and they ain't going for nobody. They going straight for the ball, and he has no idea they're there. And bro, it's happening so fast on both tackles. They're like, bro, hey, and then yeah. Now there was, I think, 1 or 2 sacks that may have been Drake May fault, but hey, bro, now I don't blame too many of them fumbles in that game on him. The fumble against the Seahawks, I think that is a bad sack to give up as an O-line, but when it comes to him, he got to hold on to the ball. When it comes to the Chargers, one of them was his fault. The other one ain't shit he could have did. I don't know what the hell my O-line was doing. And then the Broncos, he was just bad. There's no way around it. You could talk about the weather second half. You could talk about whatever. He was just bad. Ow. First half, play calling was also just as bad. But yeah. Now, it's just tough. Drake May, the reason why he is tough, because he put his playoff resume is bad. There's no way around it. His regular season resume is elite. Now, come into the season, if we doing it based off expectations, again, I say this, if we're doing it based off expectations, I had the Patriots winning 11 or 12 games, losing first round in the playoffs. The one thing I'll say is about the expectations, the 2 people I definitely knew was going to hoop was Gonzo and Drake May. I think Drake May did enough to get them wins in the first 2 games. I think you got to give the defense way more credit than anybody on offense in the first 2 games. I think Drake May just did enough to win those games. He made the plays to win the games, just to not let the defense down, is what I'm really saying. The Broncos, they won despite him. It's kind of like what Ben Johnson had said about Caleb Williams. They were winning games despite the passing game at a certain point. Then with playoffs, we was winning games despite Drake May in the last 2 games. The Texans game, we do not win that game without Drake May. Drake May was very good passing the ball. It just, bro, that D-line was ridiculous. Now, I said I was going to talk about it. I'm going to be real. I think the issue in that game was they was blitzing. And like I said, I think Drake May does a very good job at identifying where the blitz is coming and blocking that. Now the play that ended up getting killed against the Patriots was when they blitzed Petrie. And Petrie, he was supposed to blitz, but he stays out because he thinks it's like 4th and 1 or something like that. So he thinks he's going to take the dump off. But he ends up taking the intermediate route to Pop, who's one-on-one with the DB, and he catches it. It low-key gets tipped, I believe. He breaks that tackle, or really, he keeps his, I guess, balance and goes into the end zone. It was a bro, I kid you not. The same damn play happened, except it was spoon blitzing instead of Petrie. And bro, Pop is doing a even deeper route. So maybe if it was a little bit of a more narrow route, he may have time to make that throw. But I don't think it would have been as open. I think they called the right play for what it was. They blocked the right amount of people. It's just they ended up having the one guy. He went free. They probably had to block one more person, but it was really just nobody else in there that could have blocked. They blocked a lot of people. They just sent more than they could really handle. Pop gets open, but he doesn't have time to make the throw. So it's just, I don't know, man. Drake May in that last game is tough because I do think there was times when he had chances. He did make plays. And then there was just times it was just nothing to be done. There was times where he missed reads. There was times that he missed throws. But that's just what it was this regular season. Like I said, in the regular season, he was the most efficient quarterback in football. And this was with a situation where OC, in my opinion, wasn't that good. I thought he was very inconsistent. I wouldn't say he was bad. I would just say he was inconsistent. When it comes to the weapons, I think that the weapons in the regular season, they didn't really get separation. Drake May was accurate, and they caught a lot of the balls. So I think the accuracy percentage, I think it was on Drake May and the wide receivers. But I don't think they really was getting separation all season. That wasn't a new thing, in my opinion. That's just what I would say. I think the only person that really was Kyle Williams, and you kind of seen that towards the end of the season. But when when Booty and Hollis came back, he didn't play as much. So now your separators, you had Diggs, Kyle Williams, and Chisholm or Pop playing a lot of them games. And now you have really more so 50-50 guys that catch a lot of this stuff, but they're not getting a lot of separation. And then it just really wasn't the same. So I do think I think all that does play into it, but also Drake May just wasn't good in them last 2 games. But if you're doing it based off the expectation, they weren't expected to go that far. I think a lot of the reason why they get hate is because of the fact that they like, how the hell is this team this far? So I don't know. I would say for Drake May, I would say S, personally. If you want to say the playoffs, it can't be S because of what he did in the playoffs. I'm going to be real. I'm not giving bro an A because of the fact, I ain't going to lie, I say A. I ain't even mad at A. Because when it comes to the playoffs being real, as a Patriots fan, I'm used to Brady. And I ain't going to lie, it was kind of getting depressing in that Super Bowl when it really felt like he was sped up. He had PTSD. No matter how bad the situation it was with Brady, it never felt like that with Brady. Now, I watched Brady for majority of it when he was seasoned. I ain't watched too much of Brady when he was young. I ain't that damn old. Simple as that. So maybe, you know what I'm saying, Drake may get more experience. Because you got to realize, bro, this is his first full season starting. He didn't start the whole year last year. This is his first full season starting. He went to the Super Bowl. So it's tough. And I think I haven't mentioned, he played 4 of the 5 best defenses in the league. Like, he played a gauntlet of defenses. Like, I'll tell you this right now, bro. He would probably much rather have played the Rams. Would he have beat the Rams? I don't know. That's a tougher one. I do think the Patriots would have probably matched up better with them because of the way that the defense was playing. The defense for the Patriots was ridiculous in the playoffs. Drake May wasn't that same level, but the Texans, one of the most talented defenses I've ever seen. The Seahawks' talent and scheme is just ridiculous. The scheme in that, go watch the All-22. What they were doing defensively, disguising, was ridiculous. They were so committed to disguising coverages that, I'm gonna be honest, that's scary. Honestly, because this is just getting started. This is year 2 with McDonald, by the way. Like, hey, if you're a Ravens fan, I don't know how you can feel about that. Who else? What I was gonna say? Then you have the Broncos. Pat Surtain was just, he damn near locked up the pass game by himself. But yeah, it was not a separation out there. But at the same time, Drake May didn't do no favors. Because the thing I would say that really was bad about the Broncos, that game was just bad. It was no excuse because the O-line was actually good. Nick Bonito versus Will Campbell was actually good. Will Campbell was actually good against him. And the thing that's actually weird is Drake May, he apparently got injured. And I honestly can believe that because the inconsistency throwing in the second half of that game to the Super Bowl, it was glaring. I won't lie. So if he was injured, that would make sense. I'm not using that as an excuse. Personally, I'm not. Now, Will Campbell, he was legitimately injured. I do believe, I ain't gonna lie. I don't think he was that, I think he was good. Some people were saying he was like a top 10 tackle in the league early in the year. For him to be going from top 10 tackle in the league to be getting clowned the way he is, you gotta realize he came back 3 weeks early from a knee injury. And they saying he had a torn MCL. Now, I'm not gonna lie. if you were in the Super Bowl, you may never make it back to the Super Bowl. So you can't sit out that. But yeah, I don't know. That's tough. But yeah, that's the video. In my opinion, this is my grades for all the quarterback. This was a lot longer than I really expected. But hey, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Y'all do want more of these? Like the video, subscribe. Hey bro, I know people are gonna be mad about some of these things, but I tried to be consistent with my ratings. By the way, the tiers is just a grading for what they did this season based off the expectations coming into the season. The tiers in terms of the quarterback in front of each other is the rankings within the tier. So Matthew Stafford is the best quarterback in his tier. Josh Allen is the best quarterback in his tier. Mahomes is the best quarterback in his tier. Lamar is the best quarterback in his tier. Hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, if y'all want to be mad at any, like say for instance, if you think I'm saying Sam Darnold is better than Josh Allen, my thumb is up because you didn't listen to anything I said. If you think I'm saying Sam Darnold is better than Pat Mahomes, my thumb is up. He's in S, brother. If you would have told me before the season Sam Darnold would have a good regular season, not just a good regular season, be good in the playoffs, no turnovers in the playoffs, and win the Super Bowl, I would not believe you at all. And I like the Seahawks coming into the year. I would not believe you. So yeah, that's really what it is. Y'all want more? Like the video, subscribe, all that good stuff out the way. Further ado, your boy Fitz. I'm out of here.
Tell them to bring me my money. Yeah!